In the past year, we have made our clients over $2 million in track sales from YouTube. And on top of running a YouTube agency serving some of the largest creators in the online business space, we've also done the same thing for ourselves. In 30 days, we launched our own coaching offer from scratch using only YouTube. No website, no VSL, and no Instagram because my business partner's account got taken down. And in that first month, we grew a channel from just over 1,000 subscribers to 10,000 subscribers and cash collected $66,000 for our own coaching offer. So it's kind of safe to say we know what we're talking about here. So with that being said, if you have a service, coaching program, community, course, and you're looking to scale that through YouTube, you're in the right place. I'm going to be pulling back the curtains on everything I've learned from scaling business YouTube channels, but also how to actually make money from them as well, because that's why we're all here. And what I want to stress about this video is this is not going to be your average YouTube growth guide. This isn't about how to hack the algorithm for 2024 or retention editing. These are going to be principles that are going to last you longer than whatever algorithm or trend is popular at the time. These are psychological principles that are never going to change. But what this video will cover is the following. Number one, how to take the guesswork out of winning ideas and actually turn it into a science. Number two, how to write scripts that they don't sound like scripts when you're reading them out loud to a camera. How to structure your videos to actually drive sales without burning out your audience. The psychological tricks your favorite gurus all use to manipulate you and turn you into a buyer. How to position your content in a saturated market. How to actually get people to click on your videos and stop being boring with your packaging. And on top of this, I'm also going to be doing a live script writing session where I go from idea to script to final product for a client in real time. Now, before we dive in and get into the content, a few more notes for you. As I mentioned before, I'm going to be teaching you principles, not hacks. I don't want to give you stuff that's only going to work for 1 or 2 months after watching this video. I want to set you up with a foundation that's going to help you create YouTube content years after you watch this video. Number two, you have to know what you're talking about. All these things I'm about to teach you when it comes to strategy, ideation, scripting, it's only going to work if you are an expert. Now, I don't mean you have to be top 1% in your field, but you should have a very solid understanding of what you're talking about before you go and teach it to others on YouTube, because thumbnails are not going to save that information. Number three, I want you to forget about filming and editing for a second, which sounds contradictory given the setup I have in front of me right now. Now, the reason I say this is not because it's not important, but most people don't really struggle with this. What they do struggle with is actually coming up with good ideas that perform, and that's what carries your videos at the end of the day. And the final thing, number four, is that you don't need a ton of views to make money with YouTube, especially in the business niche where, some niches are just smaller, which I'm going to talk about later. Guys, you can get a few thousand views per video and still make bank with YouTube. We actively have clients right now that are averaging between 5 and 10K views per video that are making close to 6 figures a month with YouTube. So I really want to emphasize how untapped it is and why you need to pay such close attention to the information I'm about to give you in this video. Because if you actually follow the instructions in this video, there is no reason that YouTube cannot become a huge traffic source for whatever offer you're currently pushing. But that's enough introduction. Let's get into the video. Okay, so as a YouTube channel, business education channel, you really have two main objections. Number one, you have to sell the audience on your mechanism, right? Why should they do your thing? Why should they follow your business model, the opportunity you're preaching? You have to sell them in on the opportunity. And then number two, you have to sell the audience on you, right? Why are you the person qualified to teach them, right? Maybe they're already sold on day trading. Maybe they're already sold on copywriting, but why should they learn from you compared to the thousands of other educators that exist out there? So really, depending on how aware they are, you're taking them from the journey of not knowing about this business model at all to being fully sold in on the fact that they should learn this new opportunity from you and that you're the most qualified to teach it. So really what it looks like is that you're competing on business model, meaning like other people are teaching business models, you're teaching this thing. You have to convince the person why your thing is better than all the other available options or ways to make money. And then number two, you are also then competing with the educators in your niche. Maybe you're doing day trading or something like that. You have to convince them why you're the best day trading educator to learn from out of everyone that exists on YouTube. And this ties really nicely into the idea of market awareness levels and the different people you're going to be speaking to when you actually create this content. So I have it right here. There's least aware, moderately aware, and most aware. So depending on how recent your business model is, there's going to be a certain percentage of your audience that's like very unaware. They don't know anything about the opportunity. And then there's going to be a percentage of the market that knows a little bit more about the opportunity. They've heard about it. They've seen other videos on it. And this really depends on timing and how recently this opportunity or thing has been introduced. So I'll give you an example. This is like a less aware market right here. This business model is making teenagers 10K a month. And maybe you're pitching some kind of new business model like growth operating. I'll just use that as an example. You are under the assumption that the people that click on this video, most of them at least, like 80% of them watching, have not heard of growth operating, or there's very little available content on it, and you are introducing or creating a market for the thing you're teaching, right? This kind of content works really well when you're newer to a market. Again, the thing you're teaching hasn't really been talked about a lot, and you need to basically create a market for people to sell to. And this works best, again, when you have a new opportunity that a lot of people haven't heard of. You need to educate the masses on, the fact that it even exists and why it's so good. You're gonna have a more moderately aware segment of your audience that already knows about the opportunity and they're looking for more specific education within the thing, right? So this is somebody that already knows what copywriting is and they're looking for a way to get clients. So in a video that would cater really nicely to them would be new way of getting copywriting clients in 2024. They already know what copywriting is. They don't need to just hear about why it's the best business model. Now they actually want to learn how to do it. Like they already know it exists. And then you're gonna have a segment of your audience that is very aware, meaning they're already very deep in the service. Maybe they've been working on it for a while. Maybe they've been struggling to learn, and they're looking for very, very specific or niche education around it. So this is something like watch me write an email from my copywriting client live. This is like specific, how to close a copywriting client on a sales call, like very, very specific education, or even like a student interview of something like that, of somebody that came through your copywriting program and explaining their experience with your stuff. So really you're gonna have to take a hard look at your market and see how aware your audience is, and then determine what kind of content you make or the distribution of content you should make based on where your market currently stands. For example, SMMA, that's a really popular term now. It's really an umbrella term for more specific opportunities. But if you think about SMA and you try to introduce the opportunity of like, you can go help manage brands' social media, like that's not a new concept. There's going to be variations of that are new, but the actual concept of SMA isn't new, right? People already know what that is. So this less aware content, this more top of funnel content is a little bit less effective because most people already know what SMA is. There's already a market for it. Now people are looking for more specific education about it. Again, same thing with like Airbnb arbitrage, right? Random example, but that was like the new sexy trendy thing in 2020. Now everyone kind of knows what it is, right? If you talk about Airbnb arbitrage to anyone that's someone involved in entrepreneurship or real estate, they already know what it is. So trying to act like it's some new thing that's like super alive and well, it's not really going to have the same impact as it would 4 years ago, right? Which is also why timing the market matters, which not a lot of people talk about. The analogy I use here is like it's like pitching sliced bread to restaurants. It's like they already know it exists, they already have it. It's just not even a relevant thing to talk about. The messaging isn't effective when you try to introduce something like it's a new opportunity, but it's actually existed for quite a while. But there is some nuance with this, right? Because if you make something feel new or repackage it as new in a way that's creative and innovative, then you can get away with those kind of videos, right? So you think about like growth operating, I'll use that as an example. It's literally just social media marketing or SMA, but the entire differentiation of it is that instead of pitching these retainers to clients, you're operating on a rev share deal where you're getting a percentage of the creator's income. High ticket e-commerce, you probably heard that one before, or high ticket drop shipping. It's just drop shipping, but you're selling more expensive luxury products instead of fidget spinners from Alibaba. It doesn't necessarily have to be new, it just has to feel new. So keep that in mind. And going back to this last segment, you can categorize least aware, moderately aware, and most aware as top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel. I just like to start with this because it's a different way to think about it and most people don't explain it well. Okay, ideas. How do you turn this into a science and take the guesswork out of it? As I mentioned before, having a pulse on your market and understanding what your market is thinking and feeling is going to do a lot of the ideation for you and be very helpful, right? Simply knowing things like the reasons people have bought from you, why people don't buy from you, what people are struggling with the most in your field, what's stopping people from even trying to begin with, knowing the specific demographic that tends to buy from you, what trends or stories are happening in your industry right now that you can capitalize on and make content about, how often your market's being pitched to on a daily basis, how sensitive are they to hard selling or very aggressive marketing, and what other creators in your niche have made content on, which is what I'm going to be talking about very shortly. But a lot of people think of ideas as coming up with new ideas, but there's a good chance you have the ideas in your head, you just don't know how to synthesize them or turn them into content. Like you've taken sales calls with people before, you've spoken to your customers, you've spoken to their clients, you are fairly aware of their desires unless you're living under a rock and just oblivious. You're going to know the answers to a lot of these things, you just don't know how to synthesize it and actually turn them into videos. And if you're still oblivious, you can source data from previous sales calls, your current clients and customers, talk to them, the comments you get on your ads, Instagram content, old YouTube videos. If you're even making YouTube content, what are people asking for? Browsing videos in your niche on YouTube, seeing what other creators in your niche are doing right now that's actually working, and studying adjacent opportunities, right? Seeing what other business models people are exploring at the time, and how you can potentially take inspiration from the way they're pitching their stuff or the kind of content they're making in a niche that's not yours. Because sometimes there's room for arbitrage opportunity where one creator's killing it with a format in a niche, but that format has not been used in your niche yet, and there's opportunity, right? So as I mentioned before, one of the easiest ways is simply using YouTube search and spending time on the platform. Like there's a lot of tools that exist out there, but honestly, the best way to get inspiration is simply going straight to the source, right? So if I was making wholesale real estate content, I was looking for inspiration on how to come up with ideas for that topic, I would simply search wholesale real estate in YouTube search. Crazy, right? And then an easy way to determine whether a video is like an outlier or it's performing well for the niche is looking at the amount of views the video has compared to creator subscriber count. So if you're noticing a video is significantly outperforming the amount of subscribers they have, right? So if it's like 3, 4, 5x the amount of views compared to subscribers they have, it means the format or video is performing extremely well compared to the person's audience size, right? It's now broken out of their core audience, and now YouTube is pushing it to new viewers because it's an outlier and the video is particularly good. So a lot of people overcomplicate this, right? They tell you to do some crazy formula. Again, it's really just like looking at videos that are outperforming a channel or is getting an unusually high amount of views or impressions for a channel of that size. Now, vidIQ is also really good for this as well. Again, I don't use everything. I don't take it as gospel, but I do use it for inspiration. So this is really where it's good to get long tail keywords, right? So if you have something like wholesale real estate, you can go search that up and go to related keywords, and it's going to give you some variations of the search term and some questions that people are asking in the niche. So for example, like wholesale real estate is like the very broad keyword, and then you can find more long tail keywords like how to do wholesale real estate contracts or like how to find cash buyers for wholesale real estate. And these are going to be search terms that are going to give you SEO opportunity because there's not a lot of people making content on them, but also there's a high amount of search volume of people searching for it. So you can find those like discrete opportunities like that. Also, like just looking at the keywords is going to give you so much inspiration. Like, you know, if you were to scroll down, there's going to be like different variations of it. It's going to be like how to wholesale real estate step by step, how to get started as a beginner, how to do contracts, and you're going to get a lot of inspiration just from going to related keywords down below. And then you can actually go and copy and paste those search terms into the YouTube search right here. And then you can again see what kind of content people are making for those specific keywords. And then going back to the ideas section, like you could literally just write down a list of questions that your ICP or, you know, customer you're targeting has, and those are going to be great YouTube video ideas, right? So if we're using an example of like going back to copywriting again, it's like how to start copywriting with $0, how to get copywriting clients, how to find copywriting clients on Instagram, how to close a sales call for copywriting, how to actually do email copywriting and write an email, right? Simply answering the questions that your avatar or customer has is going to give you so inspiration. I bet you can write down a list of like 10 video ideas just based off that right now. And so I also want to introduce the concept of TAM or total addressable market because it's going to make everything make a lot more sense when you're actually going and doing this topic research. So you might have seen this graphic being used in relation to business, but I'm actually going to use it in the lines of content right here. So right here, you have your total addressable market. This is everyone you could potentially speak to or address with your video, so to speak. Now here, SAM or serviceable available market is the percentage of people in that, you know, scope that you can actually help with your product or service that are candidates for it. And then this is serviceable obtainable market, meaning the people that are like you can help that are actually going to go and buy from you or that are actively looking for some kind of education, coaching course around the thing, right? So a better way to visualize this is in the case of looking at SMMA or social media marketing, or even as a broader thing, make money online as the umbrella thing that attracts the most amount of people, right? There's a large amount of people that want to make money online or get started in online business. And then a smaller segment of that, a portion of those people are going to be interested specifically in starting a content or creative agency, which is what we teach. And out of those people that are interested in content or creative agency content, a small percentage of people are actively going to be looking for, you know, paid education or resources around that we can then obtain as customers. So really at any given time with your content, you want to be trying to reach the broadest amount of people as possible while still creating content that's relevant to this core audience of people that can actually benefit from your product or service. So it's going broad enough where you can capture a very wide net of people that are generally interested in something like agency or starting a business or starting a service-based business, but also keeping the content relevant and specific to people that fall into this basket of people that you can actually help. So I know that might sound confusing and is a bit of a contradiction, but I'll give you some practical examples of it here in a bit, right? So a really good example that I like to use is my business partner's Cam. His first real YouTube video that he's posted is I started a content agency from $0 to prove it's not luck. You've probably seen this video if you're spending time on YouTube. As you can see, this video performed extremely well for an agency SMA related video, just above 250,000 views. Very unlikely and uncanny for something that's branded under like a content agency, which is kind of specific. But just the nature of this video is just so entertaining and interesting and appealing to an average person that's not even starting a content agency. So the video was able to get a lot of reach beyond content agency owners while still remaining relevant to that core audience of like videographers, content agencies, people that want to learn how to do this, right? Because in the video, not only is it just him talking about practical tips about how to start the content agency, but it's also just entertaining because he's documenting himself, cold approaching business owners and pitching himself, you know, to these owners, which is entertaining to anyone that's interested in business on YouTube. So the total net of people that this captures is so wide, but it's going to be best suited for the people that are interested in starting a content agency or creative agency. So again, this is the overall scope of people this speaks to. This is going to speak to somebody that's starting a content agency from zero, like directly like Cam is in the video. Somebody that's thinking about, starting a content agency or video business, someone actively working on one. But at the same time, it's also going to reach people that are starting or working on a social media marketing agency, because a lot of the principles and things that he talks about in the video are going to be relevant to anyone starting some kind of service-based business. And again, because SMA is a wide niche, like this is going to reach more people. But then even more broadly, this is just someone interested in business entertainment on YouTube, right? People that are watching challenges or somebody documenting this business journey. It's going to be like entertaining because it feels like a TV show. So it's a perfect combination of using that entertainment-esque packaging and making the video feel interesting to a wide portion of the population while still remaining relevant and practical for the people it's intended to reach, which is content agency owners, videographers, people that want to start a video business. So this is what I like to call niche virality, where you're able to like max out your reach while still remaining relevant to the people that are actually want to buy from you. And so this also brings me to another point, which is broad isn't always better. In the example I just showed you, it makes sense to go broad because we're going broad within the business niche or the social media marketing niche, but we're not trying to reach the entire world population. We're just reaching a bigger portion than we were previously. It's like skipping from 1 to 2 rather than skipping from 1 to 7. Because if we try to go too broad with these and speak to the entire population, you end up speaking to no one and it doesn't really resonate with anyone. So an example here is a lot of people will try to make like 3 books that changed my life videos, and they'll be selling like a lead generation course or something like that. And there's just such a misalignment between those two things, and they're in just such different markets and they talk to such different people that it's such a stretch to tie the two together, right? Or it's like somebody selling a coaching program on how to get into rental properties, but they're making like the morning routine that changed my life videos. Like that's just not relevant or helpful. That just should be done if you want to do it. It's not going to help you sell more coaching, right? So these people, ironically, they would probably be better off actually going more niche and being a little bit more specific with the content they create than going and trying to reach everyone in the world population. So they'd be better going off for long tail keywords or more specific things that people are already looking for education around, such as how to analyze a rental property, how to buy a rental property with no money down, how to start an LLC for rental properties. But a lot of people are under the misconception that because these videos are like more niche, they're not going to get views. And yes, like if you're in a really, really small specific niche, maybe videos on like this, just because they have a smaller total addressable market, like I showed here, maybe they'll cap out at 2 to 5K views or even 10K views, right? Something like that. But then within those 5 to 10K views, the people that actually watch that are going to be extremely high intent and are going to be potential buyers or customers for the thing. So a lot of people need to worry less about going broad and trying to reach everyone and be more focused on specifically, reaching the people that are already interested in the thing and just really hammering down. That's like why there's different styles of content. That's why there's top of funnel. That's why there's middle funnel. There's why there's bottom of funnel, is because you're reaching people at different awareness levels and intent levels. But some people like are so sold on the idea of like going as broad as possible and only making top of funnel stuff. Reality is most people don't really know how to make effective top of funnel content. They fail miserably. And again, like I said, because these things have less overall competition and not a lot of people are making content, you actually have better opportunities to rank for SEO, right? Like a lot of our clients, for example, Cam Aalways is one of them. Like he's crushing in the wholesale real estate niche simply because we found something very specific and we created really good tutorials within the niche that people are looking for help with. Another example, one of our clients, Justin Warloin, we were making a lot of ICT strategy videos, which is a specific thing within the trading community. And we were trying to rank on the keywords for these different strategies, which are very relevant in the trading community. Like I said, we're here to make money, not just get views. That's the entire point we're doing any of this stuff. Now, we just talked about studying what's effective, but there is also an art in studying what's not effective, studying cringe, if you will. Whenever I see some kind of ad or stupid thing on my Instagram that I think just like rubs me the wrong way or I think is just weird, I will take notes on it. I will make a mental note of what I didn't like about it specifically, and I'll make a mental note not to do that with my clients or myself. And a lot of this comes down to social media just being this like constant copy paste cycle, right? Format will catch fire, everyone copies it a week later, and then by week 2, it's like a dead joke, right? And a lot of this just has to do with the copy and paste nature of social media and things just being completely outplayed. Something's cool, everyone starts doing it, and is no longer cool, but there's people that do it way beyond its lifespan, and it's a dead joke. They're trying to repeat something that's no longer funny, essentially. And this can be like a specific editing style, this can be a format, this could even just be like the messaging people are using in the videos. A lot of people copied Hormozy with like the I have nothing to sell you angle, and then they'll go and sell you like a $47 like ebook on the next page. It's like that messaging, number one, is just dishonest. Number two, it's completely outplayed. And then saying like something like, I'm not like the other gurus, but it's like every guru is saying that. So like it's not even a believable statement anymore. So it's really just observing what people are responding negatively to or no longer resonating with and making sure not to do that in your own content. So we touched on this a bit earlier, but I'm going to give you some practical examples of creating outliers, right? The 2 best ways to do this are, number 1, you find a proven concept, you do it better than everyone else, and you kind of are playing an arbitrage game. And the second is you find an unfilled gap in the market and you're the first to fill it, which is a little bit more challenging and takes a little bit more skill and practice, but when you do it, you can absolutely blow up. So right here is the example of the first concept, right? Unoriginal ideas, original positioning. This is where you take something that has already worked really effectively and you just simply execute it on it better. So this is a video we produced for Cardinal Mason, currently pushing 200K views on his YouTube channel. And the entire principle of the video was simply how to get copywriting clients, right? A lot of people have made content on this, but there wasn't like really good content on it. And I felt like the videos that were currently existed could use a lot of improvement. And also I noticed when I went to vidIQ and, just saw YouTube in general, the videos on that topic were getting significant search volume. There were a lot of people interested in it, but not a lot of creators that were actually making effective content on it. So you have the opportunity to come in here and do it better without even changing a whole lot, just making minor improvements and minor tweaks, putting a slight twist on it, right? And we actually looked at the results. 50% of the total views were just from search. So like there was a lot of demand for this already. So without this video even getting pushed crazy into the algorithm, people were just finding this through search traffic because we knew that how to find copyright clients was a relevant pain point in the niche, and we made a video on it. As I mentioned earlier, best way to find ideas is understanding what your current avatar is already searching for or has questions about and creating content on it. I actually wanted to look in the breakdown of how people found the video. A lot of the views were like variations of like how to find copywriting clients, how to start copywriting, how to, get copywriting clients with no experience. A lot of these different search terms. So my theory was proven correct here. And again, a few of the ways we differentiated were we added with no experience in the title, which at the time no one was really using. So that was like an edge that we took advantage of. Number two, we incentivized viewers to stay to the end with the script title, which definitely helped AVD or average view duration, essentially just how long the average person sticks around on the video. So basically at the start of the video, we're like, hey, stick around to the end because at the end, I'm going to give you the exact script template that's crushing for all my clients right now. And so that was a kind of an easy way to like almost view hack, if you will, or just provide some extra incentive to stick around to the end and actually use something that the viewer could implement today. And by the way, if you've ever gotten that DM on Instagram, hey, are you doing anything with email right now? Looks like you're crushing it. That was because of this video. That's where it started. And number three, with the script writing and the messaging, we just dumbed it down to a 5th grade level. In the intro, it was something like, you can do this even if you're a stupid noob with no experience. And we really made it clear how simple this approach or outreach strategy actually was. And the second one is finding a bigger gap, right? In the first one, really finding these small improvements, but this is where you find like a big opportunity where you can really innovate and crush if you do it correctly. So one thing we noticed in the videography industry, content agencies, whatever, is there were a lot of people making videos on how to get clients or how to get customers for your video production business. But all the videos in the niche were just talking head videos and they were all preaching kind of the same strategies. But what we observed from our own content agency is one of the best ways to get clients is actually building relationships in person and, having these conversations in person, even cold approaching when you're just starting out. But no one on YouTube seemed to be talking about the strategy. So we saw a big opportunity to introduce a completely new way of outreach that had never been done before. We not only introduced a completely new way of outreach that not a lot of people were talking about on YouTube, but we also documented it and did the video in a completely different way. Instead of some boring sit-down video where we're just talking to the camera about how to get video clients, we actually went out and did it. Specifically, my business partner, Cam. Actually getting the behind the scenes of cold approaching business owners and going into office buildings, car dealerships, whatever the case may be, and showing you live how to do it, right? Everyone else is telling you how to do it. We showed people with proof. And because all the information was just dated and this was like fresh and new and people actually got results when they went and tried it themselves, it blew up. It's very unlikely and unfrequent that a video about content agencies or, SMA or even just like getting clients for your creative agency blows up to this capacity. But because it was so innovative and no one else had tried it, it was just like a breath of fresh air for the entire community. And not to mention, when this video was posted, Cam had less than 2,000 subscribers on his channel. So this was a mega outlier. And you can see, like, even compared to the other videos in the niche, like 21K views, 26K views, 1.3K views. This is not a topic or concept that tends to get a lot of coverage. So you can just tell like how big of a deal this was for this video to get as many views as it did. And more importantly, this video made us a lot of money. Okay, so now we're actually gonna talk about structuring a video to drive sales and keep people engaged. So I'm gonna give you some intro principles to actually follow, right? A lot of people give hook templates or like, oh, you gotta follow this exact thing. I don't believe in that. I prefer to give you frameworks and principles that you can use and customize to, however you want to do it. Because ultimately, I'm in the camp that I think you should teach a man to fish instead of giving him fish to feed him for a day. Well-written intro achieves the following. Instantly delivers on the expectations set in the title and thumbnail. So if you promise something in the title or thumbnail, you should deliver on it within the first 10, 15, 20 seconds to show the viewer you're not clickbaiting them and they're getting exactly what they were promised. Number two, shows the viewer why you're qualified to speak on this topic, right? That's inserting social proof. That's talking about, how much money you've made with a particular business model, or, talking about this strategy actually got you clients when you started, and showing them them that, hey, I'm qualified to speak on this, or if you're providing some commentary or doing an analysis on like a bigger thing. For example, one of our clients, Rob the Bank, Rob Oliver, we did a video breaking down Iman Gadzhi's Big Day drink and why it was going to be such a successful product. But to show that he wasn't some person that was just commenting on it, we specifically made sure to mention the fact that, hey, I've also sold e-commerce brands for tens of millions of dollars. I'm qualified to give my perspective on this. Number three, it makes it abundantly clear who the video is for, whether you call out your ICP very directly and specifically, like, hey, you're a copywriter that's making 1 to 2K a month, but you want to get to 10K a month, or just more indirectly, like you're just a beginner that wants to get started with day trading. There's going to be levels of specificity, but like some kind of call out or make it known who your video is for. Because again, if you try to reach everyone, then you're going to end up reaching no one. So there's this nice in between where you can find specific call outs that still apply to a large portion of people, but aren't too broad where the messaging just doesn't resonate with anyone. Also, broadly outlines what the video is going to cover, right? So maybe just some kind of like table of contents or just some kind of like explanation of what the video is going to actually do for them. It pre-handles objections. So if somebody thinks they need to start a business model with like money, or, you know, maybe they think they need to like pay for leads, like for example, wholesale real estate, one of the strategies in there is like a lot of people have to like pay for leads, when in reality, like some people will teach a free strategy. So you could say something like, hey, you can do this without buying leads or paying for shitty lead lists that are probably not even good anyways. Or for example, in day trading, hey, this strategy, you can do this without X, Y, and Z. You don't have to use like supply and demand. You don't have to use candlestick charts. You don't have to use this popular strategy, right? And like handle objections to differentiate like why this video is different or why this is actually going to be helpful to them. And lastly, it gives the viewer a reason to stick around to the end. So whether that be like offering some kind of template or a guide or something they get for sticking around to the end of the video with actual incentive, or just more like, why is it important that they watch this video? Like, what is the viewer going to be take away? What can the viewer implement after actually watching this video? Or how is it going to change their perspective or, you know, change the way they think about the world? And as I kind of alluded to before, YouTube is a game of expectations. So you want to make sure you're crystal clear about what your viewer is actually getting in the video. So your title, thumbnail, and introduction should all align with one another. So when they see the first 30 seconds of your video, it should align with what they expected when they clicked on the title and thumbnail, when they saw it on the homepage. So in other words, you can under promise and over deliver, or over promise and over deliver. But at the very least, your intro should at least match or exceed what they thought they were getting when they clicked on the title or thumbnail. And for this reason, this is why I actually will write my title ideas, my thumbnail ideas before I actually get into the intro or script of the video, so I can make sure the content I'm making, it's accommodated to what I've already promised the viewer. So an example of matching or exceeding expectations is if your video is titled something like how to make 10K a month as a copywriter, whatever the business model, you should immediately hit the viewer with some kind of social proof in the first, few seconds to validate your title, or even just in the first 10 seconds. So for example, personally, how you've made 45K in a month as a copywriter, hopefully you have screenshot proof for that. Or if you know somebody personally that's already making 15K a month copywriting after doing it for just 3 months, maybe you have like their face pop up on screen, something like that. Maybe it's a student of yours, presenting some kind of data point or piece of information that validates or exceeds what you're saying or promising the viewer in the title and thumbnail, so they actually believe you and keep watching. Okay, so now we're really getting into the principles of script writing and writing something effective. One of the most important qualities, in my opinion, is being able to leverage contrast and opposites. Now, this is kind of intertwined with the idea of open loops. If you ever heard the principle of open loops and, sparking curiosity, it's kind of similar to that, but I want to be more specific with it. So I'll give you an example in like a life story video, right? Usually they'll say something like, in 2019, I was broke delivering pizza. In 2024, I run a $6 million business, which is usually wildly different than where they were 4 or 5 years ago. Right, so like for example, one of our scripts for a client, in 2020, I quit my job at JP Morgan to go all in on a business that looked even more boring than banking. In 2024, that same business is projected to do over $6 million in revenue. So this is an open loop in the way that you're purposely being a little bit ambiguous with the way you explain it, and you're not giving all the details and you're sparking curiosity. But if you want to really break it down, what you're essentially doing is you're leveraging opposites and things that kind of contradict one another, just like don't really make a lot of sense without context. So for example, one of the things I intentionally did was like a business that looked even more boring than banking, and then that same business is projected to do over $6 million in revenue. Something boring generally has a negative connotation, and a $6 million a year business has a positive connotation. So the positive and negative kind of creates this contradiction that creates curiosity in the viewer's head. It's like, he did this boring thing, but now he's making $6 million a year. Like, what could that possibly be? Even from like quitting the job at JP Morgan, which is a prestigious firm, to then doing something boring also kind of contradicts one another, because JP Morgan associated with prestige. Why would you go and like start a business? Why would you like go try to forge your own path, what could have possibly made you quit that job? Within this one sentence, there are so many open loops that the viewer essentially needs to find out, and it just hooks their curiosity and basically persuades them to stay longer. Right within 10 seconds, probably even less, we're able to create curiosity by letting the viewer wonder and infer what happened in those 4 years without telling them explicitly. And this next section, I really need you to listen to because a lot of people do a horrible job of this. This is going to be about word choice and messaging. The way you write to an 18-year-old looking to make their first dollar online is not the same way you would write to a 30-year-old looking to find a reliable way to find income outside their job. And this is something I've realized because I write for such a broad range of clients of all different ages, all different demographics that have different audiences with different desires. So I really need to be a chameleon in the sense that I have to know how to write for different clients, and every single one of them has their own tone, their personality, syntax they use, etc. But this is also relevant to you if you're writing your own scripts, because you can't just copy somebody else's like syntax or style and expect it to work perfectly. Because if you're speaking to a different market than the person you're copying, what you're saying is going to be completely out of touch and inappropriate for your audience, right? And this is why I think it's so silly why people try to like copy Iman or like, you know, say stuff like him or take inspiration from his scripts without changing much, is because like you're probably not speaking to the same people as him. So for example, the client I was just referencing, Ben Kelly, when I was just using that JP Morgan example, he is selling his coaching program to people that have worked in corporate for 5+ years, that have job experience, that probably have a family and have a more stable career. He is not going to be saying stuff like escape the matrix or like, you know, everything's a scam, or, you know, go make 10K a month so you can go rent a penthouse in Dubai, and selling like a really crazy over the top lifestyle. Because that messaging, number one, sounds scammy. Number two, isn't even going to resonate with his audience. For him, what he's really trying to do and accomplish is he's speaking to the people that maybe has kids like him, that has worked a stable corporate job, that is looking to probably spend more time with their kids while still providing that financial support and being able to put their kids through college. So the desires of that market are entirely different. So you should not be copying Iman Gadzhi or Alex Hormozi's messaging. It just doesn't even make sense. And that's why all these like broccoli hair, make money online people on Instagram piss me off so much, is because there's like zero originality whatsoever. They're not even in touch with the people they're selling to. They're just like copying what the next person has done. And that's why the bar, in my opinion, for this stuff is so low. And I don't know why more people aren't talking about it. So an example of this is the word choice, right? Even stuff like easy, fast, simple, brain dead, rich. If you use this on a corporate professional that's like looking to get into a more serious investment opportunity, this stuff is just not going to resonate with them. It's going to sound scammy to most, and it's just not going to be effective. But use that on like an 18-year-old that's looking to make his first dollar online, probably going to be effective. So if you're selling to like a 30-year-old or somebody that's a more mature, sophisticated person, words like consistent, straightforward, low risk, repeatable, wealthy, those are going to be more effective. But if you use that on somebody that's like really ambitious, looking to make money quick, that's young, probably not going to be as effective. So it's all about being very intentional with the words you use, the syntax you use, the idioms, the references you make, and catering them to the audience you're speaking to. Again, the common theme between all of these principles, it really just comes down to knowing the person you're speaking to on the other side of the camera. So in this section, I'm actually going to be comparing copy I wrote for 2 different clients with 2 completely different audiences that have unique desires. So on the left-hand side, we have Cardinal Mason, and we have Ben Kelly on the right. Now Mason, he's 25 years old. He's selling to 18 to 25-year-olds that are looking to make their first dollar online. He is not a natural entrepreneur, and he's a college dropout. He says that anyone can learn business without a ton of experience, which is true. Copywriting is a pretty broad thing that a lot of people can pick up with not a lot of experience, and people can start making money with this business model in months or weeks. Imagine you working in a restaurant serving Caesar salad to crying children who are throwing up in their own meals right in front of their parents. It stinks. You have to clean it up. And then you discover a skill called freelance copywriting, where all you have to do is write marketing material for businesses, and then 1,000 days later, you're a millionaire at 24. That's what happened to me. Could happen to you? Probably. Let's find out. Now, as you can see, the overall messaging or tone of this is very unserious and joking, which kind of makes sense because he's trying to remain entertaining and relatable to this group of 18 to 25-year-olds that are consuming his content. And also, he's insinuating that copywriting is a skill that can make you rich very quickly. I mean, 1,000 days, that's 3 years, give or take, and talks about being a millionaire at 24, right? So he's appealing to the desires of his audience of like getting rich quick, something that, you know, took him out of this bad minimum wage job, which a lot of people can probably relate to having a bad server job at some point in their childhood. And so overall, the messaging just fits the kind of person he's speaking to, and a lot of people are going to resonate with, hey, I don't want to work a minimum wage job. How did you become a millionaire 3 years after doing that? Compared to Ben Kelly, who's 34 years old, he's JP Morgan, he served in the military. He's selling to corporate professionals in their late 20s who want extra income, so people with job experience. He has a military background, so he doesn't swear. He's more of a serious tone. His audience, because they're older, they probably tried other side hustles, and they're probably fearful of big promises or scams. They've been around for longer, just have more life experience. And the opportunity he's selling is best for people that have actually worked a job before or like in a corporate setting. In 2020, I quit my job at JP Morgan to go all in on a business that looked even more boring than banking, right? You've heard that one before. And in 2024, that same business is projected to do over $6 million in revenue. As someone that was sold the dream of working my way up the corporate ladder, it didn't take me long to realize that this dream was exactly that. But what this job did do is set me up for an opportunity that's allowed me to make more than a hedge fund manager while still being able to spend time with my 3 kids that will have their college fully paid for. My name is Ben Kelly, and this is my story. So lots to unpack here. Obviously, I already kind of broke down the psychology of this before, but just referencing JP Morgan, a lot of people are instantly going to have respect or credibility, especially in this age bracket, the fact that he worked at JP Morgan, because it's a prestigious establishment. It's not easy to work there. Number 2, he also references the dream of working up the corporate ladder, that it was not as nearly as rewarding as he thought it was, which a lot of people, a lot of professionals are going to be able to relate to that sentiment. He's saying that dream, the dream that you sold me was exactly that. It was a dream. It's actually not the case. Then he has a positive reframe. It did set me up for an opportunity that's allowed me to make more than a hedge fund manager. That messaging resonates with people because anyone that's older knows how much hedge fund managers make. They make a lot of money while still being able to spend time with my 3 kids. Again, relevant thing that he's just referencing from his own personal experience, but he knows it's going to resonate with a lot of other people. Other people in this age bracket probably have kids or some kind of family that they've been not able to give the time of day because they're so busy with their corporate career. And on top of that, he's paying for their college. So it's like, wow, that's a lot of things he's throwing at them. I'm making more than a hedge fund manager, which is a lot of money, but somehow you still have time to spend with your kids and they have their college fully paid for. What he's implying or insinuating is that yes, in fact, if you follow what I'm saying in this video, you will be able to have your cake and eat it too. So again, the messaging is just completely different compared to a 25-year-old that's speaking to 18-year-olds. So again, the messaging is completely different because it's catered to the people that he knows are going to be interested in his product or service. So again, the messaging is completely different because he's speaking to a completely different audience / market that is going to be interested in his product. For him to try to appeal to the same people as Mason doesn't even make a ton of sense because he doesn't even have anything to sell those people. He's not selling some like brand new make money online experience where you're like starting a school group or like a Discord or like doing freelance copywriting. This is a little bit higher barrier to entry. And so for him to talk about like easy side hustles to start as a teenager like doesn't make sense. Now, storytelling. A lot of people have their own theories and ideas about storytelling. I like to keep it extremely simple, and it's simply showing rather than telling. Side by side, an example of telling would be saying wholesale real estate is so easy, it's the easiest business model, anyone can do it, right? Saying that's called being explicit or being extremely direct with it, versus showing at 19 years old, I closed my first 2 wholesale real estate deals for $35,000 in profit, and I was only 3 months into the game when this happened, and I literally sounded like I was still in high school on the phone. So that's implicit messaging, right? Saying the thing without really saying the thing. And you see why this is more effective. Number 1, it just has so much social proof, like proving that it's actually easy. It's proof, right? Instead of telling people, he's like showing them. He's also implying that you can do it at a young age without actually saying it by referencing the fact that he was 19 years old. He's also implying that you can do this relatively quickly because he references the fact that he was only 3 months into the game. And he also mentions the fact that he literally sounds like he was still in high school on the phone, implying that you don't have to be a sales expert. You don't have to sound super professional or sound like this mature older person to actually be successful in wholesale real estate. It's actually pretty easy. And so you just accomplish in just 2 sentences, you say so much without actually saying it. And it's also way more believable because you're not just talking out of your ass, you're referencing direct experience and stories. So you can simply replace a lot of statements with stories, and that's a really effective way to get your message across, like personal stories or anecdotes. And then if you throw in descriptive language on top of that, it's over, such as like I sounded like I was still in high school on the phone. You probably hear that and you imagine like somebody with like that puberty voice where their voice is cracking, maybe it's a little bit squeaky, and so you can just visualize what he sounded like on the phone. So to make it crystal clear, I'm going to give you another example of this. This would be very appropriate for me if I'm making content on content agencies. So an example of telling here would be saying free work is the best way to get clients as a content agency, or using that as my hook. But showing it would be something like this. After spamming cold DMs, cold email, and even running really embarrassing ads on my Instagram, I accidentally found a new method of getting video clients that no one is talking about. This strategy allowed me to sign my first 5K a month client without a ton of past experience and also cost me nothing to use. I'm not only going to reveal this strategy, but also show you how you can copy it step by step so you can start signing retainer clients this week. So much to unpack here, but again, it's the art of saying stuff without actually saying it. So after spamming cold DMs, cold email, and running really embarrassing ads on Instagram, again, referencing other methods that I've tried that other people have already tried so that messaging is relevant to them, I accidentally found a new method of getting video clients that no one is talking about, right? So I'm like kind of hinting without actually saying the thing. They don't know what it is. It's creating anticipation. And then again, referencing a personal story to actually prove it's legit. It's actually so good that it allowed me to sign my first 5K a month client, which is kind of impressive by itself, but it's even more impressive when I mentioned the fact that I did it without a ton of past experience and also was free. It cost me nothing to use. And then also I promise a clear benefit for the viewer, right? And I also tell them you can copy it step by step so you can start signing retainer clients. And retainer clients, that's like a big deal in the video space, right? Everyone wants consistent work this week. So they can immediately implement it to go and basically insinuate the fact that they can go sign a client for 5K a month. And it's just such a stark contrast. It's like these little adjustments, not really a little adjustment here, but like really taking the time to tell a good story and dial in your messaging just makes such a big difference. Because imagine watching a video where this is the hook versus this is the hook. Just completely night and day. And so again, like I referenced this in the intro as well. It's just like really funny to me that people will spend, so much time like worrying about the audio, the lighting, the mic, right? All that stuff does matter, but it's like, it's funny for them to spend all the time on that and pay zero attention to this, which is literally the foundation of like everything in the entire video. So now we're getting into the fun stuff, rhetoric and brainwashing. This is going to be the more dark side to YouTube scripting and how your gurus actually manipulate you into buying their product, right? All of these channels, they use psychological warfare to communicate the simplicity of the business model or how low barrier to entry it actually is. These are really subtle things that have you thinking this business model works. It 100% works. I'm just not an action taker, right? It's some really, really high level gaslighting when you really think about it. Some examples of this, you've probably heard them in videos before. If teenagers are making tens of thousands of dollars a month with this business model, so can you. It's so easy. I was an average student in school. I had a B- in English, but I was still able to make my first $100,000 writing online. I was 3 months into the game when I closed my first deal, and I literally sounded like I was still in high school when I was on the phone. All you need is an iPhone and an internet connection. You have all the information to succeed for my free on my YouTube channel, and if you still can't get clients, you're probably just lacking in accountability. And then they would do like a call to action, like join their coaching program. And it doesn't even feel like it most of the time. The average person, they are completely oblivious to these things happening because in their head, they're on YouTube to be entertained, right? Sometimes learn something for free. But these videos, what they are, they're just aggressive direct response copy in disguise. It's sales copy that feels organic and natural, so you don't even know you're being sold to. That's the beauty of it and why YouTube is such a powerful mechanism in 2024. So now that we've gone over the manipulation tactics that gurus use to sell you their product, I'm gonna give you some practical examples of intros I've written for clients. But prepare yourself because after watching this section, you are never going to look at a YouTube video the same way. It took me 18 months to go from dead broke to making $48,000 a month as a freelance copywriter. And honestly, if I knew what I knew now back in 2021, I could have done this way faster. This video is going to be an updated guide on how I'd start copywriting in 2024 from scratch. Even if you don't have 2 nickels and a brain cell to rub together, this is still for you. I'm going to cover where I'd learned to write copy. I'm going to cover where I learned to write copy, where and how to get clients, and how to make sure your clients keep paying you once you get them. So pay attention because this could be the video that legit changes everything for you. So lots to unpack here. First of all, he introduces social proof in the intro, right? It took me 18 months to make $48,000 a month in a freelance copywriter. High income, short amount of time frame, creates a bit of a shock factor. When he says I could have done this way faster, he's basically saying learn from my mistakes, and he insinuates that like they're going to be making the same amount of income, or they could make the same amount of income in a shorter time frame if they listen and apply everything they learn in this video. Again, great example of showing, not telling. He calls out his ICP, pretty much anyone that wants to learn how to start copywriting in 2024 from scratch or from zero. And then he does another call out specifically for people that don't have 2 nickels and a brain cell to rub together. Like that's kind of like a funny joke, but basically what he's saying is like if you're broke and you're also kind of stupid or dumb, this is going to work for you. So he's basically essentially saying if you're broke, you have $0, but you want to learn copywriting and make money, this video is practical for you, or this video applies to you. In the last section, he gives context on the video and also adds like what's in it for me, because he says like this could change everything for you. And based on the information he's provided up to this point, he's insinuating that people could potentially make tens of thousands of dollars a month, even if they're broke and stupid, if they pay attention to this video and apply what's in there. So it's like rather than explicitly saying if you're broke and stupid, you can still make money with copywriting, he's doing it in a way that's more clever and subtle that you don't even see it, and it just flows really nicely. And if you know Mason, you can probably picture this in his voice as well, and that's something like I do with all my clients, is like I am writing in their voice and thinking and imagining in my mind what it's going to sound like when they actually deliver it, so it sounds organic and it sounds like them and not like it's me scripting the videos. So the second intro example is how I closed my first wholesale real estate deal at 19. And also I provided titles here so you can understand how the title actually aligns with the intro, which I talked about earlier in the video. At 19 years old, I closed my first wholesale real estate deal for a total profit of $35,000 after 3 months of straight failure. In this video, I want to walk you through step by step how I was able to do this this to the exact cold call script I used to getting it under contract. If you've been struggling to close your first deal or just wondering how to get into wholesaling from zero, this video is for you. If I was able to do it as a short, squeaky kid with a Chicago accent, I know you can too if you follow the roadmap I laid out in this video. So pay attention. So right off the bat, leading with the social proof, 19 years old, $35,000 in profit after 3 months. So immediately saying, hey, I was able to do this relatively quickly at a young age and make an uncanny amount of profit, right? So that's just like an outlier, kind of a shock factor right away. And then delivers on the promise in the thumbnail, right? This is like how I did it. So obviously he's going to talk about what he's going to talk about in this video, where he's actually going to explain the strategy. And then he calls it ICP, right? So it's kind of like multiple avatars in this case, right? Because he's talking to people that are already trying wholesaling that can't close their first deal, or people that are thinking about starting wholesaling from $0 that don't have money. And then relatability is kind of selling the dream, right? Implying that even if you have flaws, even if you have bad character traits, you're not that smart, you can do this. If I was able to do it as a short, squeaky kid with a Chicago accent, I know you can too, so pay attention, right? A little bit of self-deprecation there just to make it relatable for the audience. So in a way, similar to Mason's situation, he's appealing to the average person that has average characteristics, which is most people that are going to be consuming a video like this. Intro example 3, the new way of making money on TikTok. There are hundreds of YouTube videos online talking about different ways to make money with TikTok. And I'm going to be honest, some of those do work. But today, I want to talk about an opportunity that nobody is talking about. And no, this is not posting GTA clips to random accounts and trying to tap into the creativity fund, becoming an influencer, or selling shitty products from China. This is going to be about tapping into the millions of dollars being made every day for products that you don't even have to own or touch. And today, I'm about to show you how you can get started with this week with no background in content, no money needed. Let's get it going. Okay, so right off the bat, we're starting with a big promise or claim, right? There's an opportunity that no one's talking about, again, delivering on what he referenced in the title. And then differentiation, right? He's immediately eliminating stuff that people have tried or probably have heard about to eliminate skepticism. No, this isn't creativity fund, which you've already heard about. No, this isn't drop shipping or becoming an UGC and an influencer. Right here, we hint at the unique mechanism or the business model without actually giving it away, creating an open loop, being a little bit ambiguous on purpose. And then lastly, who is this for, right? Basically like, okay, who's this ICP speaking to his ICP? And for his specific opportunity, which is becoming a TikTok shop affiliate, it's pretty much for anyone with an iPhone. So with this last sentence, he's able to cast a really wide net without being too broad necessarily, because again, he's specifically talking about making money with content, which is still a niche within itself. In the last sentence, he basically says who this is for and essentially implies that this is for anyone that has an iPhone, even if you don't know how to do content. So casts a very wide net with that statement. And the fourth example, kind of full breakdown of that Ben Kelly script I referenced earlier. In 2020, I quit my job at JP Morgan to go all in on a business that looked even more boring than banking. And in 2024, that same business is projected to do over $6 million in revenue. As someone was sold the dream of working my way up the corporate ladder, it didn't take me long to realize that this dream was exactly that. But what this job did do is set me up for an opportunity that's allowed me to make more than a hedge fund manager while still being able to spend time with my 3 kids that will have their college fully paid for. My name is Ben Kelly, and this is my story. Again, we already kind of covered this, so I don't need to spend too much time here, but instant social proof, right? Delivers on the title and thumbnail. Basically, big realization that a lot of people are relating to. Corporate ladder is kind of just a dream. Reframes something bad as good to spark curiosity, right? Kind of like an open loop. How could the job possibly have like led or contributed to his business success? And then speaking to exact desires of ICP, right? Spending time with your family, paying for their college, making more than a hedge fund manager, rather than just selling the dream of making 10K a month or just like making money or getting rich, right? He's selling like the benefit of the benefit. He's selling the benefit of making $6 million a year, which is that he is able to pay for his kids' college while also spending time with them and having that time freedom. And then last example, this will make Iman Ghazi a billionaire. This is a video for Rob Oliver. Iman Ghazi is building a $1 billion empire right in front of you, but is not with his courses or education company. No. His latest venture is not being talked about enough on YouTube. Iman just recently launched an energy drink company, big day, and very few people understand just how wealthy this can actually get him. Coming from someone that's already built and sold multiple e-commerce brands for tens of millions of dollars, this video is going to deep dive into Big Day. And I want you to stick with me through this entire thing because there's a lot of different pieces you can copy on your own journey. Right off the bat, we're sparking curiosity, right? Because a lot of people are under the perception, so we're like attacking a belief, if you will. A lot of people are under the impression that Iman Ghazi is like making the most money from his courses or coaching, education, right? But he's saying no, he's actually not. He's actually going to make the most money with his new venture, which you don't know about yet. And it's not being talked about enough on YouTube, so kind of teasing more. And then he actually just recently launched his energy drink company, Big Day, so he kind of closes this open loop, but actually opens a new one, and very few people actually just understand how wealthy this can actually get him, right? Sparking some more curiosity, but also explaining why it's important to pay attention to this. Like, no one really understands the scope of this. And then why I'm credible to speak on this. I'm not just some random guy that's reacting. I'm actually credible to speak on this subject. I've sold e-commerce brands for tens of millions of dollars, and kind of prefaces like what the video is going to be about. We're deep diving on this energy drink company and why they should stick around to the end. What's in it for you as a viewer? Why should you even listen to this? Well, if you're looking to build a brand, you can actually copy a lot of the stuff he's done. So now that we're through intros, I'm going to be talking about the body of the video and how to structure it. Right? There's really like no template or framework for this. I can just give general examples because depending on the type of video you're going to make, it's going to be different. But an effective video body, in my opinion, it follows these principles. Number one, it uses analogies to better explain the thing you're teaching. Number two, uses stories and personal experience to strengthen the points or make you appear more relatable. Number three, it delivers the promise made in the intro video. I'm going to keep talking about this because it's so important. Number four, it reinforces credibility. Number five, it has some kind of structure and is organized by chapters and segments to separate unlike or different ideas. Number six, it sells the viewer without realizing they're being sold to. As I mentioned before, it just feels like they're watching TV. Number seven, it lures the viewer down a rabbit hole of binging the other videos on your channel. And lastly, it actually solves relevant problems of the viewer, and these are things they genuinely need help with, and you're providing a solution to it. And also, when I say solve problems, that can mean a multiple of things. It could provide some entertainment value. It could just be an inspiring story, right? This is more like specific to like a how-to video, but when I say solve problems, that can mean a multitude of things. So for a how-to video, pretty straightforward. You're really just walking someone through the chronological steps of like doing something, right? Like a specific business model, how to start it or do something within it, like how to get copywriting clients or like, how to get cash buyers for wholesale real estate. So really what it's going to look like is there's going to be these chapters, and then within the chapters, there's going to be bullets underneath. And the bullets are essentially supporting points that are going to help you guide you through the video when you're actually presenting it or delivering it. And the actual bullets, how do you come up with those? Really what it is, you're just like knowing what questions your ICP is going to have or like the specific things they need help with, and then inserting them to remind you, this is what people need help with. I should talk about this. And if this sounds confusing, I'm going to give you an example in just a second to make it clear. So some elements you can include in the actual content or body of the video: personal stories, student or client stories. If you reference specific numbers or data, you can strengthen points. You address common mistakes or myths that your ICP believes. So like everyone thinks this, it's actually this is the best way to do it. Using analogies to simplify concepts. If you borrow credibility, right? This person's telling you to do this, you should probably pay attention. If you tell the viewer to visualize certain situations, like either real or imaginary, right? Like Mason did with imagine yourself, you're serving Caesar salads to crying children, then you're a millionaire. Or even just make imaginary situations of like putting people in a certain position. Speaking directly to the viewer situation, like very hyper specific call outs. For example, if I'm speaking to like videographers and it's like you've sent 200 DMs, 300 DMs, and you still haven't gotten any traction with getting clients, I have a new method for you. I could be even way more specific than that, but that's just an example. And asking rhetorical questions is really effective, right? So it's like, if you follow this, do you really think you're not going to get clients if you do this exact strategy every single day? And it's basically getting the viewer to validate themselves that your thing works without actually saying it. So this is just like a very basic example of how you can outline a how-to video. So let's just say like this video, you're teaching somebody how to start a specific business model. And the first thing you would include some transition language, basically then go into like, okay, what resources did you use when you got started? Like maybe include like a story about what you used at the time or what was available at the time. And then if that's not relevant, basically like if I were to do it in 2024, this is a strategy I would use instead. Also providing a stipulation, right? Like, oh, if you have $0, like there's other ways you can do it. These are the best ways to learn if you have zero, kind of like objection handle a little bit. And then how long you'd recommend somebody learn before getting into it, right? Because a lot of people are going to ask that question. It's going to come up, oh, how long should I spend learning before I start outreaching? Like if you know a question is going to come up, just answer it ahead of time in the body of the video. That's like the best way to do it. And before you go back to the actual structure, this is kind of my philosophy around writing bodies. If a viewer had no opportunity to ask follow-up questions and they had to follow everything I said in the video to a T, would they be able to perform the task on their own without any extra support or assistance after the video? If no, you probably have to answer a few more things in the video to make it crystal clear for the viewer. So it's like, that's why I always like to think about these things in advance, like potential follow-up questions that could pop up, and answer those within the body. And then really the chapters are determined by like logical stages. So it's like you think about, okay, after you learn the thing, what's the next step to getting clients? Well, it's actually reaching out to people and doing outreach. Okay, then how do you do outreach, right? So then you come up with some transition language that's appropriate. Then you give them the best strategy for outreach, like the exact message you'd recommend using, right? And like some general principles in reaching out to people. And then again, like kind of the timeline, how long can you expect? How many messages are you going to send before you actually get a client? Like what's realistic? And then maybe you can use a personal story about how long it took you, how long it took your friend, how long it took a student, etc. So you can like intertwine all these different things. And then maybe use an analogy there about it being a volume game, like maybe compare to dating or something like that. Like not every person that you like on a dating app is going to like match you back, and that eventually somebody will, something like that. And then the most logical transition after that is like, okay, once you reach out to people, people are interested, how do you close them? Yada, 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 some general sales stuff. and then maybe you give specific examples that are probably going to come up and how to handle them before they come up. Then, okay, once you close a client, the next step of that is fulfillment, right? How to keep your clients, how to communicate with your clients, how to actually get them results. And then inevitably a question that comes up as a result of like fulfillment or getting a client is like, okay, once I have a client, how do I get more? How do I scale? So then you answer the questions about scaling, some potential problems that you've had from experience and how to solve them, right? And you see how like every section kind of logically transitions from the next, because like this transitions into this transitions into this, because they're all like chronological next problems or next steps that are going to come up once you've completed that thing. So it all kind of works together and flows really nicely. Each chapter is independent, but they also kind of connect with one another, because it's just like step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. That's how you can think about it. And so that was a how-to video. Another example of a video you might write is like a life story video, right? These are really popular. These perform really well. We use them with all our clients. Usually for the intro is just some kind of like flash forward to present day, where it's like, you know, in 2019 I was broke, 2024 I'm making millions, right? And it's like, this is my story, create some kind of open loop. And then usually after you flash forward to present day and how much money you're making in the intro, you'll go back to, okay, before all that, how did my life start, right? And then you like walk them through that entire process. And then it's just a chronological buildup from like childhood to present day and everything that happened in between. And then you're bridging that curiosity gap that you created in the intro by providing information in the body. The body's supposed to answer that unanswered open loop or those unanswered questions that you presented in the intro, right? So it's like chapter 1 is like early life, like where you came from, your first interests, were you ever interested in business? If so, what were you doing? Like I just wrote something for a client where it's like when they were 7 years old, they were doing something with, you know, doing like they were trying to open their own nail salon, right? And that was like showed that she had like ambition from an early age. Again, providing all these small details to better illustrate the picture of who you were before you got into this business and your early aspirations. All this stuff really matters. Life stories where you really go into those nitty-gritty details and specific stories, because that's going to build that personal connection with the audience. And then usually it'll be like either I was like depressed in high school, or like I went through this thing, or my parents got divorced, or, you know, my family went through financial difficulties and this put a strain on my early goals. And then, you know, I remember I had to like go to school one day without lunch because my parents couldn't afford food, et cetera, and usually present some difficulties that, you know, prevented you from getting your initial goals. Or maybe it's something like I thought I wanted to do this when I was young, but as I grew up and matured and came into my adolescence, I realized this isn't what I actually wanted, and kind of paint the picture of like you're in this dark place, but now like there's an opportunity to grow out of it. And then chapter 3, usually like you discover the business model, you discover something that changes the course of your life. You're like, wow, I discovered this, took me out of this dark place. It was still difficult and I struggled, and, you know, insert specific story, but at the same time I finally felt like there was like light at the end of the tunnel. And then chapter 4 is like you're hitting your stride, like, wow, things are picking up, things are good, everything around me is changing, and describe that transformation process and what it's like in chapter 4, and like really give the viewer a picture of like what that first win felt like, and paint the picture for them. And then chapter 5, you're going back to present day, like wrapping it all together. Like, now I'm a millionaire, I bought my dream car, retired my parents, This is kind of how I feel, how it compares to how I thought it would be, how people treat me now compared to back then, and then also like tying it back to making it actionable for the viewer. Like if I had advice for myself getting started, like this is what I would tell myself. Again, it's very, very straightforward once you get the hang of doing it. Best advice is to actually study successful life story videos, namely our clients. But if I were to simplify all of this into one picture, this literally goes back to what you guys learned in 3rd grade. There's a beginning, there's a middle, and an end, and more specifically, there's like exposition, right? Chapter 1. There is conflict, which is chapter 2, like relative low point. There's chapter 3, so this is kind of like the rising action and climax. And then chapter 4 is a bit of the climax and following action right here. And then present day is like the resolution where you currently are, also the end of the video. Really not that complicated. I didn't invent this. These are just timeless storytelling principles right here. Another type of video you'll probably be doing is like a VSL, where you're going to be pitching an opportunity or introducing your audience to an opportunity they've never heard of. This is going to be like a very top of funnel style video that has the potential to be pretty broad and reach a lot of people. And again, like I mentioned, this is going to be most effective when your market genuinely hasn't heard of this opportunity before. This is best for like low awareness markets that have no idea what this is, and they're hearing it for the first time, and they haven't seen a lot of other content about it on YouTube. Or like I said, it could be something that appears to be new, that's like a repackaged version of something else, where you're presenting like a new way of doing things, or like there's a new mechanism that's suddenly working or effective, right? So first of all, you're explaining what it is, how the opportunity works, and you're usually using some kind of analogies, comparing it to something they already know. So the current thing that people are using, for example, for Amazon FBA is like, you're selling all these name brand products on Amazon that people already want, and you're just getting a cut of the profits. Either just some kind of analogy to compare to like another business model, or like in there, you're like it's just an oversimplification of the thing to better explain it without being overly technical or confusing them. Or like for copywriting, it's like I'm writing emails for brands or companies that need help with their marketing. And then usually how you got into it, how you discovered it, usually some like quick little story about like how you found it by accident, or like, you know, you realized it was so good and like almost too good to be true, and then you just started taking off with it. And then also like maybe some macro analysis of like why the opportunity is so good. For example, business acquisition with Ben Kelly, like one of the angles we leaned into with one of the videos is like in the macro trend of like, hey, there's 13 million baby boomers retiring and they're all gonna die soon. The businesses they own need to transfer hands. They need to get them off their hands to somebody who's gonna operate it long after they're dead. Only a third of those are actually gonna be inherited by their families, so the rest are completely up for grabs. So we're basically, not only are we explaining the opportunity, but like why it's such a big opportunity and why you need to take advantage now. So there's a little bit of urgency in there as well. And then usually in the second chapter, who it's for, like, you know, who specifically can you do this opportunity. So usually if it's like a beginner biz op offer, it's like you don't need any money, you don't need any experience. All you need is like an Amazon seller account and this, da da da. Usually what this is like basically if it's like a biz op with like no barrier to entry, you're basically explaining why it's so easy and like why you really need nothing to get started. Right, another like example of this is like TikTok shop affiliate, like you really only need your iPhone to do this, like it's really that easy. Or if it's like a more specific opportunity in Ben's case where it's like for a more advanced audience use space, say, hey, this is gonna be best if you have like years of job experience, da da da. But you don't need that much experience, maybe you just need some like bare minimum requirement to get started. So really just like make it very clear who this is for and call out that specific customer. And then chapter 3, usually there's some kind of like transition, like how this is different than all the other opportunities or similar opportunities. So with Ben's, for example, is like, you know, a lot of people at that age are getting into other investments like Airbnb or rental properties or real estate. So we found a way to differentiate that from those other opportunities. It's basically like all those kind of rely on luck. You need a ton of deals to actually, you know, make a lot of money. But with business acquisition, you only need one deal to change your life and make a significant amount of money. And it's far more predictable. So those are the two things we basically leaned on, is the fact that it's much lower risk and more predictable. And number 2 is that you only need one deal as opposed to, you know, multiple to actually make significant money with it. And then chapter 4 is usually, you know, social proof, but it's not just me that's winning with this opportunity. You know, look at all my students or all these other people who are crushing it with this model, and then you'll reference specific numbers, figures, whatever the case might be. And then usually you'll be like, you know, this person worked at Walmart, this person was just a school teacher, like, and still they didn't have a lot of experience and were still able to crush it with this business model, and then kind of like selling the dream to the viewer and making it extremely relatable and believable. And then usually chapter 5, they'll end it with like, you have 2 options, right? You can try to learn this on your own. I have free content on my YouTube channel, or you can join a community of like-minded people. You can pay me for coaching. You can have a mentor that's going to help and hold your hand and like follow the proven framework or proven system or like proprietary system that I've come up with that's worked for all my students. And usually with these, again, I'll talk about this later, usually not like selling like secrets, usually selling some kind of implementation with like a coaching or community. It's not usually like I have some hidden secret. Usually it's more like, hey, like you can do this on your own. Like there is the information available. That's what I did. It just took me a lot longer. So if you want to speed up your process, you can work with someone that's already done it. Sometimes you don't even know it's a VSL, guys. Free course. This is a VSL. A lot of people don't realize. A lot of them are very obvious that they're pitching an opportunity. Sometimes you don't even realize. Sometimes it's done right in your nose. And guys, sometimes you don't know it's a VSL. Best VSLs don't feel like VSLs. Sometimes they're marketed, labeled, and packaged as a free course or free value. This video right here could be a VSL. I'm gonna leave you with that. Another thing that is really effective, just kind of a little pointer here, is that within any of those video structures in the body of the video, something you can do to keep people on your channel is that if you have an opportunity to reference a related video that is related to what you're talking about in the actual content, it's great to do this, right? So for example, in the how-to video, maybe you have a section on closing clients. And at the end of this chapter, before you go into like the next section, chapter 4, you could say, by the way, I also have a live sales call on my channel where you can see me closing a client in real time. So if you're struggling specifically with sales, go watch that video. And you'd use one of those info cards on YouTube to go link them to that video, and then that would send them to the other video. And this keeps people on your channel, and more importantly, keeps them in the funnel, because now they're just in this rabbit hole of browsing your video specifically on your channel until they either opt in or book a call, rather than like seeing all the options they have on the right hand side of their YouTube that are made by other creators. They're going to stay specifically on your content. And once they've watched like 2 or 3 videos of yours, they'll probably religiously consume your stuff compared to other creators if they're actually finding it helpful. Now the outro. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but my main points with this: be concise, get to the point, and include any last piece of social proof, right? You don't want this lengthy recap of like, so now you know how to do da da da, right? You don't want this whole like summary, because it's just like redundant and it's going to make the video feel like it's a hard stop, like they're not learning any new information past this point. So this is generally where we're going to like do a very succinct call to action or pitch if you haven't already. And by the way, Call to actions don't just have to be book a call with me or buy my product. There's a few different types of call to actions you can use. So it can be go check out the other videos on my channel. It can be go download the free course or the template and description, like an opt-in page. It can be check out my free class next Wednesday, like a webinar registration. And if you don't want to have people book a call every time, you don't want to burn out your audience and like constantly be pitching your thing, you can just go tell people to check out other free value, maybe like a webinar or an opt-in that's free, like some kind of free template, instead of pitching a call at the end of the video. And I think something really effective is alternating between small asks, like a free template and description, and big asks, which is like, hey, book a call with my team. We can really help you, and really just hard selling them. This just like prevents you from burning out your audience too early by alternating between these asks where you're not hard selling them all the time, but you're being firm enough where they do know you have an offer. And also like even something like the free template and description, like if they're opting in and you have a setter call and leads, it's like you're still selling them. It's just in a less direct, explicit way. Like for example, when we launched our offer on Cam's channel, we didn't have a VSL or landing page at all for the first like 2-3 weeks. We were just sending people to an opt-in to get like a free template on how to make 10K a month as a videographer. And then we just had a setter dialing leads and setting appointments. So you're still selling people, it's just in a more covert or less direct way. And I referenced this earlier, but what you're doing with the call to actions or anytime you pitch people is you're selling implementation, not information. A lot of people will try to sell you secrets, or they'll try to sell secrets. And at the end of the day, pretty much any person with half a brain knows that all the information can be found online for free, right? The main objection you see with like people that don't really understand the space are like, why would you pay for information if you can find it on YouTube for free? This is like a scam, this is a waste, right? But it's never really the information you're selling in your course coaching community. You're selling the accountability, you're selling like your system, your way of doing things, right? You've been able to organize the information, organize the steps in a way that's proven and repeatable. So it's like you've synthesized the information from your experience and turn it into something like a template that people can follow. You're selling like being around like-minded individuals. If it's some kind of coaching program community, you're going to have access to all these other people in the same path as you. Live access to you as the educator, right? One-on-one, direct coaching, whatever you want to call it. And then the implementation of the strategies you already know, right? You might have the recipe, but you don't know how to cook it like the chef that's made it for the past decade, right? Even this information right here. The reason I give it away is because I know that to implement the information I'm giving you, it's going to take practice and it's going to take experience, and not anyone can just steal my strategy or my YouTube sauce or knowledge because they don't have the reps or experience that I have. And so that's what you're doing when you're basically selling people an implementation. It's like, hey, you have everything for free. I'm just selling you, implementation that I'm going to actually help you make sure you know how to implement all the recipe I'm giving you. And so an example of a call to action or an outro is like, like I said at the start, you have all the info you need to get started on my channel. Again, selling the implementation, not the information. But if you want to work one-on-one with me and get your hand held, selling accountability, I have an option for you. I've helped dozens of students, now hundreds, hit their first 5, 10K, 15K months with copywriting, and there's no reason you can't do the same. And if you want that, you can check out the link in the description. I'll see you guys around. Again, kind of like an abrupt stop, not to drag it on, being very concise with the call to action so they know exactly what to do if they want to start, but you're not dragging it on. You're just letting them know and then cutting the video right there. Because again, if you've explained it well up to that point, there's no reason to drag this on or make it super lengthy. Now in this section, you're going to watch me script a video from scratch, from the title to coming up with the idea to writing the content of the video and the intro and my thought process behind it. This is going to be a full walkthrough of me actually doing it for a client. It's going to be extremely useful. So if you're still a little bit confused about everything we just talked about with structuring a video, this is going to be me doing it in real time. So enjoy. Okay, so this is a full live script writing tutorial. I actually have the script videos for a client right now, so I'm like, you know what? Let me kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I'm going to be writing 2 full YouTube scripts for one of my clients and showing you the entire process, explaining my creative choices, everything in between. Let's get into it. This is not only just scripting, but also ideation, how I actually find ideas when I'm like, I don't know what to write about. I don't know what content I'm making for this guy today. You're going to see it all today. So I'm very much looking forward to making this video for you guys. First thing you do is you go over to youtube.com. I'm scripting YouTube videos. Why not, right? With this client, this is Mr. Justin Warloin. We've done videos before, so I know that with his audience, they really like ICT strategy, right? If you're not in the trading world and not in the trading community, it is a topic with a lot of search volume right now. So, right, I always talk about like market research and knowing, the demographic of people you're speaking to, having somewhat of an understanding of a niche. Like I don't need to know how to trade, but if I did, it would probably help. And I at least know the concepts and the strategies people are learning, at least by name. So therefore, when it comes to topic research and actually coming up something, finding content market fit, if you will, creating videos that people actually want to watch and that there's already demand for, it's a lot easier when I actually know the market, right? To give you context, ICT, Inner Circle Trader, he's a big voice in the trading community, and a lot of other people have kind of grown their brand around, that's also another video I made for TJR, grown their brand around basically simplifying these ICT concepts, or right, breaking them down, because he has these super long mentorship videos. In these videos, he's just like, their long mentorship videos are like not super entertaining or engaging, and he's not as succinct as he could be. So really where people have been able to succeed is almost like arbitraging, right? They take his concepts and they explain it better in a way that's, you know, more appealing to the masses, and the packaging is a little bit better. And that's where you're able to get an edge. I actually have a good email about this. I'm going to pull up right now for reference for you guys. And what I talk about is there's a few different ways to differentiate yourself as an educator, right? So there's succinctness, like I said, boiling down the hour-long concept into a 10-minute video. Clarity, which is just explaining it better in a less confusing way. These two are somewhat intertwined. Entertainment, making it fun. Personality, again, kind of best displayed through like a vlog or a day in the life video. Social proof, does your stuff work? Are people succeeding with the mechanism, or are you the social proof? Are you the person that's succeeding with the mechanism? Are you making money with the strategies you're teaching, right? Just delivering consistently good info, or just dropping a value bomb with like an hour, 2 hour long free course on your audience for free. In my eyes, these are the ways to differentiate yourself. And so with him, what has worked really well so far is repackaging these ICT concepts, make them more clear, explaining them better, and also including a call to action to his mentorship within these videos so that we can actually convert off the views. We just did like a top 3 ICT concepts video. We did a turtle soup one. That's one of the strategies. We did daily bias, and all 3 of these performed fairly well. So we're going to double down on that concept. But really what we're trying to do here is we're trying to rank for every possible ICT search term. So there's like fair value gap, there's daily bias, there's top-down analysis, there's breaker blocks, there's order blocks, right? So in our eyes, I'm like, okay, what's the best way to take over this niche and grow his channel? Is just trying to rank for every single keyword. And so that anytime you search up any ICT related thing, like let's just daily bias, it'll appear differently based on, you know, because I think if you're on the same channel, it'll show up sooner. But if you do this from an incognito tab, you know, you'll probably get a similar result. Like the whole idea here is to rank at the top of the search bar for these different terms. You know, if we do ICT turtle soup, right? The whole goal here is to rank at the top for all of these strategies. So anytime anyone goes to any like ICT related concept, we show up at the top. And we're able to basically, you know, steal traffic from other channels just because we're ranking above them. And if the information is actually good and they enjoy the video, they're likely to subscribe to the channel and end up converting as paid, you know, mentorship students. So that's the whole goal here. So why not just do it with every term? So I look at the other ICT channels. I'm going to go to my friend Casper SMC. He's a friend of mine. I'm sure he won't mind me borrowing his concepts here, but obviously seeing what's working on his channel as a successful educator in the space is also obviously still like an artist. We're going to do that here. So silver bullet is one of them, fair value gap, free course, as we had mentioned earlier, top-down analysis, and ICT breaker blocks, right? So like he's basically hitting on the same things. If you go and look up any of these topics on YouTube, like ICT breaker blocks, what I always look for a topic of like a topic is good is you can look at the number of views the videos tend to get compared to subscriber count. Now, sometimes it's skewed because like the video was posted a while ago when they didn't have a lot of subscribers, then they got a lot of subscribers, et cetera, but it tends to do pretty well. Are the videos, do they actually have like legitimate search volume? Are they getting views compared to the size of the channel? And if they're at least 1-to-1, it's probably a good topic. Ideally, you know, you have channels, if you really want to look for outlier topics, like is this a really good like undiscovered topic? It's when the video has significantly more views than the size of the channel. It's not going to be all the time, but that's just like another little bit of a side note. Again, don't trip out about that. From this quick little search here, we can tell like, yeah, it gets views. Like people have made content around it, but there's a lot of room for improvement. Not a lot of great thumbnails. It doesn't seem like that many people are making great updated education around it. A lot of them are from like a year ago. So this gives us an opportunity to basically come in and arbitrage and create better material. The only one who's really done it somewhat recently that is kind of like an educator that I actually know in the space is Casper. Outside of that, again, kind of just like bad thumbnail, probably good video, but like there's really just not a lot of education around the topic. In situations like this, you can use vidIQ. I'm not going to use vidIQ because I don't want that to be the takeaway of like, oh, go to vidIQ and look up search volume. Like, yeah, I can give you guys a tutorial on that right now and show you guys, okay, can I validate a topic with vidIQ? 100%. Daily bias, that was a video that did well, like high search volume, low competition. That's what you want to look for. That essentially means a lot of people are searching for this topic and there haven't been a lot of channels to actually make content around it. So in other words, there's high demand, but very low supply. Let's just do order blocks. Same deal, right? High search volume, relatively low competition. Breaker blocks, again, same deal, high search volume, low competition. Anything over like 10,000 search volume tends to be pretty good. I don't trip out about that so much either because the search volume is only relative to the size of the niche. So if we're talking about like a more niche subject like Airbnb arbitrage or wholesale real estate where it's like more specific and niche, it might have lower search volume, but then the people that are searching for that topic are extremely high intent, meaning that you can dominate the niche very easily because it is a smaller total addressable market and there's not as many educators in the space, it doesn't mean it's a bad topic if it doesn't have a lot of search volume. It's just there's varying levels of, TAM that you're going to hit with every topic. And so some just have more than others. What's more important to look at is just search volume to competition. This will give you a good idea. Again, it's not perfect. This isn't gospel. I don't say it's gospel. These numbers aren't perfect, but it will give you a ballpark and it'll help you validate an idea that you have in mind and just be like, okay, that's good. Or this is like, I should probably go back to the drawing board and find something with more search volume, because it's like creating a product when you already have a wait list of people signed up to buy the product, right? You already know there's demand for it. Before you even produce inventory or anything like that, people are already interested in, or it's like you see a software working and you're like, I can do the same thing but better and add features. That's what you're doing here. It's the same thing with the YouTube. You're finding videos that people are already interested in and you're just making better versions of it. So that's kind of my philosophy around creating education and the how-to videos. Find tutorials that people are already searching for and interested and do it better. Okay, so we know there's interest around the topic. We know it's a proven concept. So let's run with the video. So we know video number 1 is going to be about breaker blocks. All right, so the first part of my scripting process before I even get into the body, intro, whatever, is coming up with titles, because the packaging of the video is equally as important as what's actually in the content of the video, because otherwise what's the point of making a good video if no one's going to click on it? And really, if it's a how-to video, it's not going to be anything too crazy. You don't really have to do too many tricks here. It's just okay, what comes to mind? It's very intuitive for me. Okay, I'll just keep spitballing until I find something I like, right? It's just I always just think about those tabloid magazines when you go to check out at the grocery store and you'd see those People magazines. There is kind of an art of clickbait, whether people like to admit it or not. You either play the game or, you get left in the dust. There is some actual learning you can do from that. As long as you deliver a good video, people don't care that you clickbaited them. Obviously, if the title and thumbnail and the packaging is completely different than what's being talked about in the video in the first 30 seconds and they feel like they got lied to, they're gonna click off and they probably won't watch your videos going forward. But if you just explain to them that's important, or sell them some kind of promise in the title and thumbnail, it doesn't hurt, right? So the two, and also there's a theme with all these thumbnails, right? It's what is the theme of the video? Well, we're taking something that's difficult and long and complicated and hard to sift through, and we're boiling it down for them. So the themes of the title and thumbnail are going to revolve around simple and easy. We're explaining to someone why this is the most succinct video on ICT breaker blocks, or why this is going to be the easiest to understand video they've seen on ICT breaker blocks. So the promises we're making are congruent with the theme of the video and what's being talked about, right? So when we're selling someone on the title and thumbnail, it should revolve around either being easy, simple, short, something of that nature, right? Another concept that's doing really well at the time making this video is the whole thing of 10 years of business experience in 10 minutes or whatever somebody did, right? And the whole idea of that is okay, I'm taking these lessons, I'm extracting these lessons and condensing it into this YouTube video for you. You're welcome, right? And the whole, what that implies without even saying it is I'm a really effective communicator and I'm able to synthesize information well. That's what we're essentially promising with this, right? So now we go back to this and maybe come up with a couple more. Again, we can always go back and change these later. I just like to have some preliminary ideas so I'm working with something. So I know what I'm working with, right? Now we have titles. Now what's the purpose of this video? Just a good reminder before we go into writing the body of the video. Purpose of this video, create a succinct down ICT breaker blocks for those who were previously using the strategy incorrectly or never understood it to begin with, and also nudge people who have been. I'm gonna stop narrating me writing the script because it just sounds annoying, so I'm just gonna stop doing that and you guys can watch. Probably end up speeding this up or something like that. Now that I have my purpose, everything that I write, all the copy, all the scripting is gonna revolve around this. Think of this like a prompt. Imagine the purpose is a prompt. I'm not putting this in the chat GPT, but I almost just realized this after the fact. Imagine this is a prompt. You're almost making a prompt for yourself to give you an outline or a general idea of what the direction of the video is gonna look like, so that when you go to create the structure, you have a point of reference of okay, what am I actually writing here, right? So we have to accomplish a few things. Number one, sell people on why this is going to be the best ICT breaker block video there is. Not just the best, that's a vague way to describe it. The easiest or the most succinct, the most concise, one of those three or all of those three. Number two, actually deliver value. That's really on Justin's part too, because it's going to be a screen share type video. So he's going to be talking about that in the body of the video. And then the call to action, I'm going to write a little funny intermission that he can we're going to edit in after the fact around 1/3 of the video. So this way we capture the most amount of people. We don't put it at the end. We have put it at the end before, but I want to test putting it 1/3 of the way through the video and test how that performs in terms of conversions. So I'm I'm going to write the call to action for him, and then we're going to do another call to action at the end of the video where he redirects the viewer, hey, if you like this video, go check out this other ICT strategy video. I think you'll like it, and just kind of go from there. But now that we have that, let's write the intro. Again, also to preface, I don't really understand ICT breaker blocks, and that's completely fine. You don't have to fully understand how the strategy works to write a good script, and almost sometimes it's better to have a little bit less context around it because you don't get too nuanced with the explanation, or at least the packaging, and the packaging being the intro, the title, the thumbnail, because then you actually make it somewhat realistic or achievable for the person watching, and it's not this super technical, video with a ton of jargon. It's really about packaging it in a way that's easy to understand. Almost like having just a base level knowledge of the subject is good sometimes, because you can relate and empathize with people watching this video, and you can almost write better copy because you're almost like in their shoes. You're not too far detached from them where, you're super knowledgeable about the subject and they aren't. You serve as the intermediary, which is a really good spot to be. Okay, now that we're done with the intro, that I got a little bit of writer's block there, I can explain some of the creative choices I made in the intro and the marketing psychology behind this. So let's dive in. So before we even talk about what's going on here, what's the point of the intro, how does it work, how does it follow with the body, like how do you write an intro, do you have any templates? Let me just break down line by line why I made the choice I did and like what the point of an intro actually is. When somebody clicks on your video, what's the first thing they are looking for? Did I get clickbaited? Does this video line up with what I intended to watch? ICT breaker blocks explained to you like a fifth grader, or I simplified ICT breaker blocks. So they're expecting some kind of how-to, a tutorial, a guide. And what we're doing right here with the first line, breaker blocks are one of the most misused ICT concepts out there right now. And you're probably making the same mistakes as the other 90% of traders trying this strategy. So right off the bat, we're calling out the ICP, if you will, the person watching this video, right? Probably a trader that's been trading for 1 to 2 years. They've dabbled in ICT concepts. They kind of know what they are. Some people are a little bit more aware. Some people are actively using them, but it's either a beginner to amateur ICT trader. That's kind of the ICP of this video, the type of person that's going to be consuming this content. We're basically saying you're doing it wrong. You're like the other 90%. So we're kind of poking and prodding at their insecurity of like being like the other traders that are unprofitable. When we say 90% of other traders, there's a little bit of insinuation there that we're saying that they're like the other 90% that is not going to be profitable, that is not successful. So we're doing a little bit of an insinuation without actually saying it, because the whole stat is like 90% of traders fail. Probably higher, it's probably close to 95, 98%, but there is some insinuation there. So right off the bat, they're like, oh, I'm doing something wrong. Or if they're new to breaker blocks, they're like, oh, this is really misunderstood. I should probably pay attention so I get it right. But calm down, I got you covered. Okay, so kind of just like funny transition line right there. Nothing really too crazy about here. More just like reaffirming that the video is gonna talk about this. I've made just over $700,000 trading ICT concepts throughout my career. Insert social proof. Why should you listen to me? Why should you watch my strategy compared to others? Well, I actually do it. I have done it with proof, and I'm a credible source because unlike these other guys that are just copy and pasting videos, I actually know what I'm talking about. This is insight that I've gained through actual experience. And today I'm busting all myths around this topic once and for all. I'm basically going to explain the stuff that no one else talks about, that no one else knows. There's a lot of misinformation, and I'm going to be the guy that clears up that misinformation and makes it easy for you. Again, kind of saying it without actually saying it. This is my full no fluff guide on understanding ICT breaker blocks. And after watching this video, so this is something I always do in the last line, is basically like, what is the end result, the end outcome that somebody's going to get from completing this video start to end? Because you need to create that emotional buy-in before the video actually starts. What is the end outcome, the desired outcome that this viewer has? Well, it's just to get clarity around the strategy, hopefully take away something that's going to actually improve their trading and make them profitable, successful, consistent, whatever, right? And we need to give them some reason to stick around for the rest of the strategy video, not just click away. After watching this video, you'll not only understand how it works, but also an actionable strategy you can copy and paste. People really like that expression, copy and paste, in your trading right now. So not only are we telling them you're going to understand it, but also we're going to help you with the implementation of like, hey, after watching this video, I'll actually have an example of Justin doing it himself so that I can go and use that same strategy in my trading and potentially make more money, right? So it's not just mental masturbation. I'm going to actually show you how it's done and give you some pointers around how to implement the strategy beyond just like understanding how the concept works. So now we have that emotional buy-in. Now we're gonna go into the body of the video. Now, this is a different kind of video because it's a trading video, and normally if it was like a how-to video, it'd be like me like step 1, right? Step 2, and then I do like bullet points on like some things for the speaker to include, and maybe I'll film myself doing one of those videos as well. But in this case, with these trading videos, it'll just be a screen share of Justin just like sharing a screen and explaining the strategy on a chart. What we're actually going to do is we're going to insert a call to action, right? And we're going to do something funny. So we're going to say, now a word from our sponsor. Like normally I would not do this, but Justin could like pull it off because he's actually credible. If some people try to do this, they would look like an absolute clown. Maybe he won't even be down for the idea, but I just thought it would be funny, so I'm going to propose it to him later. I'm literally going up to his place to shoot it later today. And with the call to action, we're also, the CTA is to a specific person. We're calling out, again, a specific person, probably loves ICT strategy videos, probably consuming all of ICT's content, the mentorship, trying to, wrap themselves up in strategy, but they're a person that struggles with implementation and actually, following the rules, being disciplined, actually implementing the stuff they've learned. That's the kind of person we're targeting in this call to action. Okay, now back to the breakdown. So I just wrote out the call to action slash intermission for this video, and I want to explain my thought process behind this for you guys. What is the goal here? Well, it's to get people to check the link in the description to go book a call for his mentorship. Now, the entire premise of this video is strategy, right? The reason they're here is they want to learn strategies. And what we've noticed, and this is why understanding your client and understanding your market is important. What we've noticed is there's a lot of strategy junkies in this industry. They have all the information they need, right? They've done all the homework, they've watched all the videos, they've watched all the courses, but they're still not profitable or successful. In this section, we're like, hey, you're watching this video. I see you right now. You probably watched my other videos, but you're still not profitable. So we're insinuating to them that, hey, it's not an information problem, it's an implementation problem. Yeah, you've probably watched some of my other content, but you've done all that and you still aren't living up to your potential. I can help you. You have everything you need to succeed right now, except for implementation. I'm talking about actually applying the stuff you're learning and having somebody to hold you accountable. This is what my mentorship is all about. Holding your hand and just making it impossible for you to fail in a long enough time frame. So if you're not happy with your current results, you know who you are, go click the link in the description, take a look, see it's for you, kind of like a hands-off call to action, like, hey, this is for you, go check it out. If not, I don't care. Go back to the video. Nonchalant, depending on the personality type, sometimes the more nonchalant call to actions do better than overselling the thing. So that's kind of what I was going for, especially because it's right smack through the video. If we make it too long or drawn out when it doesn't need to be, it could hurt retention. So just being brief and to the point with it. Insert student win. If he has anyone, I'm going to ask him later if we can insert a little bit of social proof here. That's ideal, just to validate, hey, this actually works. My stuff works. That'd be fantastic. But if not, we'll just run with this and we'll go from there. But really the whole idea here is call out the person. That's most of it, honestly. Just like being accurate with the call out, knowing the type of person you're selling to, tailoring the call to action to that specific person, and inserting some kind of social proof of like someone similar that was in a similar situation that is now succeeding because of the program, step-by-step process, whatever you're selling to them. And then just a call to action, go check the link in the description, check it out, take a look. Really not too complicated. So it goes back to the screen share, and then after the body of the video, we have the outro. And since we already did a call to action, we could do a double call to action, but honestly, it's not really necessary here. Again, I don't like to overdo the outros because like there's no point to like rehash everything that was just said in the video. Just make it abrupt. You don't want retention to just like fall off a cliff here by doing a 2-minute outro. So with the outro right here, as you can see, I'm just wrapping this up right here. Again, I think outros are pretty stupid. I see people doing these super long, drawn out things with like, now that you watch this video, and they're rehashing the entire video. It's like, dude, are you trying to kill your retention or no? Like, what's going on here? Quick call to action, whether that's to a video or the product. Again, the only situation where I think I could justify as a long outro is if it's like a direct response. You're really going heavy with the copy and you're pitching the product or the link in the description. That's the only situation. Even then, like people aren't on the YouTube video for a sales pitch. Like your YouTube video is not selling the product. Your YouTube video is selling the link in the description and the VSL and the landing page. So, if that's strong, all you have to do is just generate enough curiosity for that person to then click on the link in the description. So you just have to make them curious enough to click the link. You don't need to sell them on the product. You can maybe like touch on it a little bit, but don't overdo it because that's what the VSL and the landing page are for. Build some curiosity around it, maybe touch on it a little bit like I did in the intermission about the mentorship and kind of why it might help them, but it doesn't need to be a drawn out section. I think the outro is the same way. Another good thing you can do in your videos is doing a call to action in another video because the other videos will just help them nurture them even more. And if those videos have call to actions, maybe they don't convert from this one, but they go to that one and they end up converting from the other video. And keeping them on the channel and just nurturing them with your other content is always good. So the second best thing you can do aside from a call to action directly to your product, is just directing them to other videos they might like, so they stick around on the channel and they become, you know, longtime fans, or they just end up binging your stuff long enough where during that session they binge like 4 videos and they convert on the 3rd, or they convert on the 4th. So it almost gives you like a second chance for them to convert if they end up clicking on that video and converting on the 2nd or 3rd video, and then just wrap it right from there. That's literally all you have to do. Don't overthink the outro. Don't go crazy with it. Keep it succinct. I mean, that's why we're here. The whole point of the video is it's succinct. Don't start yapping in there. Guys, that's it. Like, a lot of it is just marketing principles, all the same concepts you'd use for email or, you know, direct response or, you know, landing page, all that kind of stuff. All the concepts overlap and it's very similar in video form. Now, if you are scripting videos for your clients, you do have to keep in mind there's a few other notes. You really do need to be aware of their communication style, right? And I've talked about this with a few people before. If somebody is a more casual communicator and then you go in with like the super aggressive direct response style copy, it might be really uncomfortable for them to say that out loud or talk like that on the camera, because that's just not who they are naturally, right? So that's why I always say knowing your client and knowing the market is more important than being like the best writer or the best like scripter, because that's going to do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. Like, having this purpose right here will do a lot of the heavy lifting for you, or having a general direction for the video and general understanding and context will do so much for you. And the words will kind of just come to you naturally. Like, it's not about like being the most persuasive writer, like writing this script that brainwashes people into buying your product or watching your video. It's just knowing what people want and accommodating to that, both on the content side and the product side of like, hey, this could help you because of X, Y, Z. You know, that's the biggest thing, is like, do your homework ahead of time. People think the magic is in the scripting. It's in the research that goes into the scripting that really makes the magic happen. The research that goes in beforehand is really what makes the magic. The scripting is just like the execution of the research. So before you sit down to script a video, have some context around your client. Again, the reason I was able to do this somewhat efficiently is because, you know, I'm friends with Justin. We hang out. Like, we got dinner multiple times this week. We got lunch before. Like, you know, we've hung out. I spent a lot of time with him. I've already made content for him. I know his market. I know his niche. Like, that's why I'm able to get to work very quickly. And this stuff is kind of second nature, because I spent a lot of time studying his market and him as a person. And that's really what's going to make or break your scripts and, you know, make you successful at ideating and scripting for your clients. So this was hopefully a succinct guide, no pun intended, as we were talking about succinct videos on YouTube ideation and scripting. I feel like I just scratched the surface, but this is really what you need to be successful at a very base level to get your skill sets to a 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10, even 8 out of 10. The extra, you know, little extra stuff is just like, don't major in the minors. I don't want to keep this too long because I don't want you to focus on too many things at once. Find content market fit, aka what are people already watching, and accommodate to those needs. Understand who you're speaking to in the videos, and, you know, learn to write copy that speaks to those people specifically. I don't like to say speak to one person, but you're speaking to 1 or 2 people, because sometimes there's overlap between 2 demographics, but really you're speaking to 1 person. And then number 3 is don't bore people to death with intros, outros, and call to actions. Really try to communicate the most with the fewest amount of words possible. And yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Okay, so now we're gonna talk about some other formats and other nuances of YouTube vlogs, right? Everyone wants to do them now. Everyone's doing like POV, day in the life videos, right? And they can be effective. We've used them for a lot of our clients and they absolutely crush. But at the end of the day, you need to be intentional with them, and you can't just be like messing around with your friends, right? At the end of the day, we're here to drive business. We're not here to look like clowns or idiots on the internet. That's my philosophy at the very least. And this is not to say you can't be entertaining, by the way. Cam, Ben, they have a lot of fun in their vlogs, but at the end of the day, it's centered around education and actually helping people. So one of the most important things to do in your day in the life is selling to your avatar's dream outcome. Like, your day or your vlog should be structured around the dream outcome of your avatar, right? So it's like, for example, Jadon, we did his day in the life about a year ago. And this is a demonstration of what his actual day-to-day looks like, right? We also kind of zigged when others zagged. A lot of people in the trading space were selling this super flashy day-to-day. And in fact, we did the exact opposite. We actually positioned it as like a realistic or a real day in the life, a really boring day in the life, where, you know, he's getting up, going to the gym early, letting his dogs out, working out, trading, going to the gym, right? We got a little steak dinner. But at the end of the day, it's very, very simple. And if people appreciated the authenticity of it, it also speaks to a more like realistic desire of traders. Like, a lot of people are not trying to rent penthouses in Dubai or anything like that. They're just looking for, you know, something that gives them relative freedom in their day to day that allows them to enjoy hobbies like, you know, spending time with their dogs, working out, etc. But Jimmy, on the other hand, like, a lot of his students are like in that, you know, younger age bracket where they want to have this lavish lifestyle, but they want to have a business model where they're not working a lot, which is TikTok Shop affiliate, to be able to afford these experiences, buy watches, Van Cleef, whatever. So we show students in the video that are actually making a ton of money with TikTok Shop. They're having conversations with Jimmy, so it's actually showing that, hey, the students actually got really good results and they love the program, and that this business model can make you a ton of money. So really being a little bit more flashy, but it's done in a tasteful way where it's not just the centerpiece of the video. We're also showing Jimmy working, kind of like what his actual day looks like, him taking meetings, doing work, all this different stuff. So it's not just like we're buying stuff all day. There's some good conversations in there about the actual business model. And then lastly, we have Mason. Again, kind of like the whole persona is about being lazy, but still being able to make money writing emails. So he just basically shows himself waking up, getting his morning coffee, having a very relaxed start to the day. He's having his coffee, doing some client work, and then getting on with his day and just chilling the rest of the day. So more like relaxed, more similar to Jay Dunn's, but is speaking to the desires of people that want to make money copywriting, maybe a little bit more introverted. They just want to chill, write some emails, and do whatever else they want to do with their day. And I touched on a few of these things just now, but some similarities between the winning day in the life videos that have performed for clients. Number one, they provide background on the main character, right? They provide context on who the person is, what they're about, what their story was like. If the audience doesn't know already. They introduce other relevant characters that give some context, right? This is a concept called world building. If you're into like fantasy novels, it's introducing these other side characters in their world to make it more interesting and just a little bit more four-dimensional, three-dimensional. So for example, in Jimmy's day in the life, right, he's meeting up with students, other characters are introduced when he goes out to lunch and he's explaining like what they do. So it just kind of makes it more interesting because now you have a sense of not only Jimmy, but who he associates with and who his friends are. And like I mentioned, shows a portion of the day dedicated to work. It's not just one big party. Tastefully shows off lifestyle without making it the centerpiece of the video. It captures intimate moments and conversations to actually make you feel like you're living in their world. You're in the passenger seat with them, having a down-to-earth conversation. It shows their personality and interests outside of business. It kind of humanizes them in a way. They're not just the educator on YouTube. You're a real person with real interests, and that just helps build that connection. And also another thing I noticed is they usually have good back and forth with the videographer. They have a good dialogue going on where the videographer's asking them questions that can add to the conversation. Now, another format I really like is challenge style videos, and I kind of alluded to this with Cam's video earlier. But the reason these are so effective is because live demonstration of the thing is always going to be the best, right? Even in this video, I included a live script writing guide to show you, hey, I know what I'm doing. And also, more importantly, it's just a better way for some people to learn. We've executed this content not only for ourselves, but we also did this for Alex Hyden with like basically documenting him building a SaaS from scratch. Not only does it just make you seem more legit, but it also just is more entertaining for people because they're just like watching you do the thing. And it really does feel like a Netflix show if executed properly. And that's what we were able to pull off with a 30-day series on Cam's channel, is that it became a regular daily TV show that people came into, where again, it just felt like entertainment. And what I will say is this works best when you already have authority. For example, we already have a very successful agency, and we're just doing it back to show people what it would be like to simulate it, right? We're not actually starting from zero. We're just simulating what it's like to start from zero, because then you're able to take your wisdom and authority and knowledge from what you've already done and implement it in the shoes of a beginner. So then the beginner can see what it's like to do it when you already have like the know-how and how easy it actually can be. But it doesn't position you like a beginner, like I said, because you're anchoring with that past experience that you know what you're talking about. In our case, we're anchoring with the fact that we have a successful agency that makes a lot of money. The next format I want to cover is student interviews. Now, these are great when you have a coaching program or a community, whatever the case may be, and there's people inside that have gotten good results, and you want to document that and show it to the world. Hey, people inside are really having a good experience with the product. So the entire point is the student in this video will have a back and forth with the person that's interviewing them, usually the creator, and they'll basically just be in a back and forth of like talking about where they were before and how joining the program or buying the product helped them achieve their desired outcome. This is just like a list of student interview questions here. I'm not going to run through all of them, but long story short, it's basically just like asking the student questions you kind of already know to the answer. It's like slightly rhetorical questions, because if you know them already, you probably know the answers to these, but you're just getting them to tell the world or say it out loud. But really, it's just like handling objections with these, right? Getting some kind of tangible result, like how much were you making before you joined? How much were you making after? Getting some kind of tangible result attached to it. Like how long did it take to get your first gig, right? And you're like silently handling objections with this. What would you say to someone on the fence who's not sure if this is going to work? What's your favorite part of the program? And they're basically like a testimonial. And then this just turns into a testimonial where they're just raving about your product. Obviously, to make this authentic, this should be a real result somebody got in your community. They should not be paid actors, but they're just advocating basically for 30 minutes long about how good your thing is, and it's on your YouTube channel. So these might not get a ton of views, but they sure do book calls. And also on top of that, if you really want to go above and beyond, you can also script like an intro that basically goes in or cuts in before the interview even starts, where you give the students some context in your own words about like, where they were before, where they were after, and like now they're going to describe their experience. What I'll also do sometimes it's really sneaky is I'll cut like a random hard CTA like 3 or 4 minutes in, or like a third of the way through of the video, where it's like, hey, if you're enjoying this interview so far, you want to get results like Kevin or whoever the student is, check out the inner circle, blah, blah, blah. We have other students getting results, and you really just do a hard CTA to book a call down below. Putting it early in the video also makes sure that people don't fall off, and that, you have an opportunity to capture the most amount of viewers as possible that are still retained. So now let's talk about packaging, right? A good idea, a good script, none of this even matters if your viewer doesn't click on it in the first place. Your thumbnail is like the book cover of the video, and yes, people do judge. The title and thumbnail sell the intro of your video, the intro sells the body, and the body sells the call to action. So if you don't get these things right, if you don't get the title and thumbnail right, they'll never get to the rest of the video, and they'll never be sold on you or your product or service. So rather than giving you like principles for thumbnails, I'm just gonna give you bad packaging and good packaging. So a lot of people talk about like design principles and colors and stuff like that. I don't pay much mind to that. I just focus on being effective and tapping into viewer psychology. That's what's actually gonna move the needle for you and what's worked for me. First example of bad packaging, this is my friend Ramon. I've already roasted him in an audit, and we've talked about this before, so I'm sure he won't mind me using him as an example here. Something like this, how to bootstrap your business in 2024. The packaging is just too broad, right? He's trying to speak to everyone, and like, what business are we bootstrapping? That's just way too broad, and just doesn't resonate with any specific avatar, and it's just like not that interesting. Also, the thumbnail suggests the videos about something completely different than the title. Like if I just looked at this thumbnail, I would assume the topic of the video or the idea of the video is like, should you bootstrap a company, or like, pros and cons of bootstrapping a company, which is completely different than the title, which is like how to bootstrap your business, right? It's not like explaining why or should you do it. It's like a how-to video. So there's just a misalignment between what the thumbnail is suggesting the video is about and what the title is suggesting the video about. And that just creates distrust, and it just makes it really confusing. And also just like the text placement is just like aesthetically unpleasing to look at. Like it just doesn't look good. I don't really need to explain that. You just can tell it's just not a thumbnail I would click on. Second example of bad packaging. Sorry, you have to catch these trailers from around. I just thought it was the perfect example for this. So this title right here, top 10 business philosophies for startups. This is just not interesting. Like there's no wow factor appeal. And even the word choice itself, when you really break it down to a granular level, business philosophies isn't good word choice because it sounds pretty boring. What is the benefit of learning business philosophies? And also, philosophy sounds like theories, like those words are kind of closely related, and it implies that the things he's teaching are like very theoretical and they're not actionable or something the viewer can do today. And then the thumbnail text is just completely irrelevant and doesn't even like add anything to the title, so it's just like filler space, and like there's no reason to do that. Bad packaging 3, this is Ben Vega. He's actually sitting next to me right now. And this video right here, this title, is completely unappealing or uninteresting to somebody that doesn't know Ben. Like why would they, if you saw this on your browse page, why would you care about somebody random moving to Scottsdale? Like this is only gonna speak to people that are already following Ben. So immediately you're capping yourself at your subscriber count, because no one that doesn't know him is going to click on this video. Like the concept of this video, or even just the packaging, is not going to be interesting to somebody that's not friends with Ben. Sorry, Ben, but the only people watching this video are gonna be your mom, your close friends, and your extended family. Bad packaging number 4. This is one of those examples where you go really, really specific with it, and you completely disqualify a large portion of your potential viewers, right? Because the title itself, why your agency is not hitting 100K a month, is a very, very specific call out. It's only gonna apply to a very small fractional part of TAM, right? There's a very small portions of SMA people that actually have the aspiration or desire or on track to hit 100K a month with their agency. It's like, for some reason, if he's like only selling to people that are above 50K a month or above 70K a month, it's like, that's fine. But otherwise, it's not going to be relevant to most people in the SMA niche, and just disqualifies people from watching the video. And honestly, if I had to guess, I would say a lot of the advice in here is actionable to people at 10, 20, even 5K a month. So he's just disqualifying a large portion of his audience that he doesn't really need to, simply from the way he packages it. And also, this thumbnail text is just like nonsensical. Like it just doesn't make sense. There's like inconsistent capitalization, and also like lying about high ticket. I have no idea what that means. Like it just doesn't add to this, and it just doesn't even make sense by itself. It's just not even like a complete sentence or idea. So again, that's like, a lot of people make that mistake of just like including random thumbnail text just to include it. That doesn't enhance or benefit anything about the packaging. Now, another big packaging mistake people make is copy paste. I've seen so many of these thumbnails. I just like hate seeing them, because again, I think it was Jordan Welch that actually started this like trend or format of like this kind of thumbnail. Davey Fogarty did like a slightly modified version of it, and now it's the only thing I see for any life story video. It's just completely unoriginal. Just like put the fries in the bag, bro. Like don't be like all these other people copying it. You just look like a cornball. Yeah, sure, some of these do get views, but usually it's because they already have like large like audiences already. When you do this, you basically just tell the world like, my stuff is going to be exactly the same and it's going to sound like everyone else. and there's when enough people copy and use a format like this, eventually there's like the law of negative returns. Like it actually starts to have a negative impact on click-through rate just because they've seen it so many times already, and they're just gonna say, oh, it's like one of those videos. Same thing goes for like the POV thing. Like number one, people think that the POV actual text on the thumbnail is what is making these videos perform, which is not the case. They're like taking one element that has worked for Daniel Dallin and they're treating it like it's in a vacuum, like, oh, it's the thumbnail style that's making him go viral, and they're copying it and they just look like absolute cornballs. Don't do this. First of all, if you're not Daniel Dallin, you should not be using this in your thumbnails. And number two, again, it's the concept. If once everyone starts to do it, it just loses any efficacy that it already has. Like if you're not Daniel Dallin, you should not be doing this. Like the format is just so washed at this point that if anyone else tries to do it besides the original person, it's simply not going to be effective. And I've talked about this before, but there's actually like a reason why copy and pasting becomes a negative impact at a certain point. Like, and guys, when I want to explain the nuance behind this, because I said earlier in the video, oh, you said to take inspiration. When I mean take inspiration, I mean take inspiration behind the idea or the concept, not copying somebody's thumbnail to a T. Like there's a big difference and distinction there. I call it format fatigue. And this is really when somebody comes up with some kind of title or thumbnail format that's working really well, but then everyone just mass copies it. And then at a certain point, the strategy actually starts to negatively impact your click-through rate and how many people click on your video because they've already seen it so many times, right? It goes from like this unique thing, unique appeal to, oh, it's just another one of those videos. Like I've seen it so many times, like it's not even worth it because it's gonna be like all the other videos I've watched. So a really good example, like a while back, there was like this raw reality trend where it's like raw reality of a business owner, like a 19-year-old making this much per month. And the first people that did it absolutely like crushed because again, they innovated on the format and they were the first to market, and it was actually a really interesting kind of way to frame the content because everyone was like doing super flashy stuff or like these super ostentatious thumbnails, and they actually decided to like dumb it down or like make it really authentic and raw, like raw reality, right? Like the truth about it that no one else tells you. And it was a really creative way to position the content. But then every teenager under the sun started doing it, and then soon enough it just became a running joke and a meme, and it no longer became effective. Hence why you don't see anyone using that format anymore, because it's just like dead. And it's not the format of the video itself of like talking to the camera, like that's not dead. It's just the way people were packaging the content became extremely overused and lost that luster it used to have, right? And I compare it to like investing, right? You think about like a crypto coin or like an equity that's early in this bull run where no one's really talking about it. It's kind of this like hidden opportunity, and the first people that get in are able to see these outsized returns and gains. But then as soon as they start pumping it on CNBC and they talk about it on the news, the stock pretty much is like gone because everyone knows about the opportunity now, and it doesn't have that same alpha it used to have. And then eventually the people at the end of the trend, they kind of get caught in the bear run where they just experience the negative returns of that investment and none of the upside. So think about this next time you go to copy POV thumbnails or whatever stupid trend is happening. Like just don't do it. If you're early in the cycle, it's a different thing. If you catch something early, yeah, take advantage for the time being and take advantage of those micro trends. But if you're right here, again, just put the fries in the bag, bro. Another example of format fatigue was like the bait and switch thing where it's like, don't do this opportunity, do this instead, right? And then everyone and their mother started doing it, and eventually it just became like a joke because it was just very obvious what they're trying to do. Oh, they're just like discounting this other business model to, go and promote theirs. And it's not the fact that they're discounting a business model and promoting theirs, it's the fact that it's just so obvious and apparent what they're trying to do that it's no longer even creative or clever anymore. And, the people that are later in the cycle just like look like clowns, and it's just not effective. Now that I've roasted everyone, I'm actually going to show you some examples of good thumbnails that you can take some inspiration from. These are conveniently all from our clients because we know what we're doing. Now, good packaging one, this is a thumbnail of a Mason free course video. First of all, with the title of the video, we're calling out the ICP while still remaining broad. Free copywriting course for beginners, copywriting for beginners, right? It's specific, but it's also it's still a very wide net. The amount of people that are beginners that want to learn copywriting, that's a much bigger market than, agency owners that are struggling to scale to 100K a month. Like there's just way more people in this niche compared to the agency owners one. And so you're not disqualifying too many people from that thumbnail. The copywriting niche as a whole, or people learning to look to start copywriting, is very, very big. So this effectively calls out the ICP without disqualifying too many people. It still casts a very wide net. And then it also outlines the clear benefit of somebody implementing the information inside, right? Like make your first 5K, insinuating that if somebody watches this all the way through, benefit they get is like they're gonna make their first 5K with copywriting, even as a beginner. And then also the text in the thumbnail, it just, again, kind of reminds them that it's a free course, and the word free just has like a psychological impact on people without being like super annoying or obstructive. It's just kind of like subtly in the back. And again, it's just like a clean thumbnail, nothing crazy going on. The text doesn't hurt your eyes. It's just very simple and effective. Okay, second example of good packaging is this one, the new way of finding cash buyers for wholesaling with $0, right? So the new way that tends to work really well, or some variation of that, because it insinuates the method in the video is innovative or hasn't been done before. It's different than any of the other strategies the viewer has tried. And keep in mind, if you're gonna use like title like this, make sure the strategy you're teaching is actually somewhat untapped or new. Otherwise, you're just gonna sound like a grifter. Because if people click on that video expecting some kind of like innovative strategy or something new, and they just get the same tried and true thing that everyone else is teaching, they're gonna click off the video. So at that point, it probably wasn't even worth it to get the click anyway, because they just hurt your watch time. And then another thing it does is we use a Zillow logo in the top right corner because the strategy involves using Zillow. So it kind of hints at the method without giving it away entirely. And then the with $0 in parentheses also is kind of like an objection handle, right? Because a lot of people in wholesaling, they'll buy leads, they'll pay for leads. Again, this is why you got to understand your market. By including the with $0, that already kind of makes it stand out and differentiates it, because most of the strategies that involve finding cash buyers, they require money, but this one actually doesn't. So that's another way to differentiate ourselves and just make it pop to someone that's a wholesaler that's looking for a way to do it with $0. Okay, third example of good packaging. This is a video we did with Jimmy Farley. This hits on a commonly asked question in the niche, right? So like the concept itself is effective because people are wondering, okay, TikTok shop affiliates is a new business model. How much can you actually make with this? How much do you really make? Are they exaggerating the numbers? And so the thumbnail text almost poses a question, and then the thumbnail design answers it in a way where it actually points to income, right? Like these numbers answer the question being proposed in the title. And so now the viewer wants to actually go and watch and be like, wait, 140K a month, 50K a month, are they actually making this one? And then they'll go watch the video to confirm what they see on this to make sure it's not clickbait. Because again, people, when they see stuff, they just generally have like a desire to disprove or call out stuff that's untrue. So if they go to watch the video and they see that these people are in fact making as much as presented in the thumbnail, they'll want to watch it through to like prove their point, essentially. Another example of good packaging is actually a very simple thumbnail, but it's a really effective title here. So number one, this is with Justin Werlein. We established that he made $720,000 trading. That already makes him an outlier by default. Not a lot of people make money trading, especially not that much. The fact that he can recite an exact number gives him credibility. Implies a strategy that is taught inside. People can copy him, right? So you can just copy me. If you do what I'm saying, it insinuates that people can have a similar level of success in their trading or make a similar amount of money. And then he also hints at the actual thing he's going to teach by including the Tao set, which is like a made up term he invented for the mindset thing and the philosophy he's going to teach inside the video. But it doesn't confuse the viewer at all because it still like gives them like a clear picture without confusing them. So this just kind of creates like an open loop or some intrigue without taking away from the rest of the title. And because people haven't heard of this, they assume it's a new strategy or like mechanism, which it kind of is because it's like a mindset principle that he's cultivated over the years of trading. And so the last example of effective packaging, I'm going to use Rob for this one. How I created $1 million a month brand on TikTok shop in under a year, right? Right off the bat, providing instant credibility. $1 million a month brand, not a lot of people have that. That's an outlier by default, and it creates a bit of shock factor for anyone that reads that title. And then we add in under a year because it makes the stat even more impressive because, you know, to scale to $1 million a month is already impressive, but the fact that he did it under a year is crazy. So again, just makes him even more of an outlier for someone that sees it on their homepage. And then the thumbnail text creates some intrigue because it calls out the viewer from making an incorrect assumption. Like, well, if it's not what I think, what could it be, right? Like, what product is this, right? So it creates an additional question on top of like them wondering like how he was able to do it, and almost implies that like the product is like the secret to scaling. And so they almost think like there's some like hidden thing that they don't know about and that he's done something completely different than everyone else. So it adds in that hint of differentiation on top of what is done here. So it doesn't directly complement it, but it also adds another element of intrigue here to make people wonder what he's talking about in the video. And let me reemphasize, I think it's really important as we're going through all this stuff, you do not need a lot of views to make money with YouTube, right? We actually just posted an interview on our channel with Jimmy Farley, one of our YouTube agency clients, and he made an additional $300,000 in track sales from YouTube in the first 4 months of working with us, basically starting with 0 subs, still has less than 10K subs, and he is printing with YouTube right now, right? Because we're making specific content aimed to target his ideal customer that wants to buy from him. And this is the case with all our other clients as well. Like usually they have a very specific niche and they attack that niche really well, and they're able to be the go-to or authority figure within their market. So you're done with the course and now you have 2 options. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? You can try to implement everything you've learned in the course on your own, right? You can go hire the in-house team. You can go do all this stuff yourself and try to figure out how to create winning ideas. You have all the resources. I didn't hold anything back. But the alternative is actually just hiring us and taking it off your plate, right? You're running a business. You don't want to do the content yourself. And this all just sounds like it's going to take a lot of bandwidth. We'll gladly take care of it for you. ideation, scripting, filming, editing, posting. We do all of this for our clients. All our agency clients are pretty much hands off when it comes to content. We're coming in and taking care of basically everything besides actually being the ones in the videos, and they're watching their channels turn into assets that net them an extra $1 million a year in revenue for their coaching programs. This is not an exaggeration, by the way. This is based on our clients and their current performance. We have clients ripping 70, 80, 90K months from solely YouTube and directly track sales. That's not even including the indirect benefits of having YouTube in the funnel and for the extra trusted bills and how it speeds up the sales process. It's just unbelievable. And if you want that and you want an expert to get you to that point, you know where to find us. Check out the link below. You can book a call with us, learn more about how we operate, how we can potentially help you. But regardless, hope you got value out of this course. Hope you learned something. I'll see you in the next one.